robots took my podcast, man.
I'm gonna bag Rick Masters.
We got a chance to make him on a hand-to-hand buy.
You can't come up with the front money. You're not for real.
You're not the first agents to get next to Masters.
You're not wired, are you?
Well, as you know, I'm about to retire. It's my last 2 days on the podcast force.
Are you just getting too old for this shit? Is that what's happening here?
All right. Well, I think we can get started here. Everybody, let's have fun tonight. And I don't know what else. Yeah. I think
I got the Wing Chun joke did not get lost on anybody. I got the Wing Chun. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Everybody, let's Wang Chung tonight. Yeah.
Yeah. The last time I Wang Chunged, I went to the emergency room. So we're going to avoid that. That's for sure. All right, guys. Let's start out. Jordan, do you want to kick us off?
Okay. Yeah, sure. 3, 2, 1. Welcome to our podcast. The robots took my podcast. I am Jordan.
And I'm Anthony.
Anthony, we have a guest today, do we not?
Actually, yeah, we have my friend Joe, or our friend Joe, friend of the podcast, back by popular demand.
Yeah, we had him on for Scrooge, and by popular demand, Joe is back. The audience
welcome, Joe.
Wanted him back. They demanded him. They wrote letters and emails, sent creepy postcards, all that.
Thanks, Mom.
Welcome, Joe.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for. I'm glad I didn't screw it up so badly last time, and I appreciate that you all were kind enough to ask me which movie I'd like to talk about, because that's a party conversation starter for me.
Yes, Joe, what movie are we talking about today?
Well, when Anthony hit me up and said, "Are you free?" and I was sitting there with a sleeping kid at like 8 o'clock thinking, yeah, I got time. William Friedkin had passed away.
I know that feeling, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, if William Friedkin's just died, we should do a Friedkin movie. And I'm a big fan of his, one of my favorite directors from the early 70s, late 60s Raconteurs group of directors that came out.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, Joe, for those who might not know who William Friedkin is, who is he and why is he an important director?
So if you don't know who William Friedkin is, then I don't know why you're listening to this. and I'm sorry you didn't grow up in the days of Blockbuster Video when your movies were all gone. You had to find something else because you didn't want to leave empty-handed. So you've got The French Connection, one of the great crime movies of all time that made Gene Hackman a big star, won him his first Oscar, won Best Picture, won Friedkin his Best Director Oscar, and he was with Coppola, Altman and Scorsese and all these guys in the 70s who were just like, fuck the way you guys make movies. We're taking a different way to look at this. And in the Friedkin universe, good guys and bad guys, they're the same. There's no good, there's no bad, there's only reality. And so he does this movie, he catapults to stardom, and then he comes along with The Exorcist.
Yes, yeah. I watch it every October now, that movie, and it scares the fuck out of me every time I watch it.
And he's racking up Academy Award wins for The French Connection as Best Director and nominations for The Exorcist all along. I mean, it just blew up huge in the early 70s.
French Connection, may I also intercede, has one of the best car chase sequences at the end of the movie, this side of Bullet, with the most cuts this side of like a Sam Peckinpah action sequence. I mean, literally you time it and it's like, what? There's like 40, 50, what? I lost count cuts in this sequence. And of course we see that again repeated here in this movie we're going to talk about. But anyway.
Yeah. Sort of a follow-up to The French Connection in some way.
Yeah,
definitely, yeah.
Joe, I don't want to pick this up, but sort of what happens after The Exorcist?
He kind of, I think his people lost the taste for his movies. I mean, you see what happens towards the late 70s is like everyone just kind of watches Deer Hunter and they're like, all right, you know what? we're good. We've had enough of the world is a terrible place.
Yeah.
And we get a movie like Rocky that comes along, and then everyone gets all suburban-y, introspective with Ordinary People and Kramer versus Kramer, and then it's Gandhi. And you see these movies come along that are like, well, no one really can process these movies. And movies like Thief come out, Michael Mann's Thief in the early 80s, and they're like, yeah, this gritty stuff needs to be toned down a little bit. And the first thing that I didn't realize this until I watched this movie again and I read a bit about it. This movie was made on a $6 million budget, To Live and Die in L.A. That's
yes. Wow. This is almost an independent film.
I was going to say that's low budget even in 1984, $85.
I mean, everyone's pouring money at Star Wars and Spielberg to make E.T. and all that stuff. $6 million, I mean, that's peanuts to make. And this movie is a low budget thriller. And man, does he stretch the hell out of that $6 million bucks.
And I think we'll get into that a little later when we talk about the casting.
Yeah, to your point, so just speed along. He does a movie like Sorcerer, which is great, but doesn't get traction. He did one with Pacino that was really bad. And then he kind of... Cruising. Just really, we don't have to...
That's some really racy stuff, apparently.
Yeah. Homophobic and racist. And then, he kind of peters along. And he did a couple of big budget movies towards the end and some TV stuff. But I just think he was one of these guys who was like, I've got my success and I've got my voice and everyone can go fuck themselves. And that's why I love him.
Yeah. And I think also, and we talked about Brian De Palma, and I'm not saying these two directors are really, analogous, but
these are New York guys, though, you're talking about. Brian De Palma, Friedkin, and Scorsese are all New York guys,
Yeah.
And I say that for a reason, because they all have like that, I don't mean to sound like John Peters, they're from the streets kind of feeling to their work.
Yeah.
Yeah. They play in the same sandbox, so to speak, because I think in the early 80s, in the late 70s, sort of film noir comes back. These heavy crime thrillers.
Yeah.
Film noir, and we're talking like, I don't know, Body Heat.
Yeah, by Kasdan and
Coen Brothers things. And I think...
Blood Simple. Yeah.
Blood Simple. Yeah. So we get some more, the new wave of film noir in the 80s, and this fits firmly in that space of sort of a crime drama, elements of existentialism. Yeah. It's just a very impactful movie, I think, that leaves you thinking. And that's definitely, I think, what Friedkin is all about in his movies, and definitely what this movie is about.
I was getting that too, exactly what you're saying. Film noir, 80s vibes, and French Connection. Like French Connection in the 80s, done in the 80s kind of vibes with this movie again. Watching it again as an adult, with fresh eyes. I hadn't seen it in a while. Since I was like a little kid, my dad watched it on VHS, and my dad kept changing the channel every time the racy scenes would come on,
Oh, wow.
Well, I mean, there was a lot of I had forgotten because I hadn't seen this. I mean, I have it on Blu-ray. It's been a minute, but I always forget how for a 1985 movie, this movie just does not care about your sensibilities. It's just in your face the whole time.
And in the Reagan era, that's odd. You're right, though. Being like, I don't care what you think. Here it is. Bam. We wouldn't see that again until Tarantino again in the early 90s,
Right. But, well, we'll get to that. My lament of William Peterson as a superstar, because the guy, I mean, we're talking about Friedkin and how he nails this movie, and he caught some crap for ripping off Miami Vice, and I don't think that's fair.
Yeah.
But William Peterson doing this in Manhunter, and we talk about Michael Mann, and I use them interchangeably.
Another one, yeah.
So William Peterson does this in Manhunter back to back, and then how is this guy not like a superstar? And then I read the other day he turned down Henry Hill in Goodfellas. He was the first choice.
That's an interesting thing because he does have success. I mean, on television, right?
But the guy has all the trappings of a superstar.
That was later on, though. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's 2000. He turns down Goodfellas, but he's in Young Guns 2, which is, for better or worse, one of my top 5 favorite Westerns. Judge me. Do whatever you want. I love Young Guns 2.
Young Guns 2.
I like how you call out 2. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
I agree. I think there's something special about Young Guns too. We should do a podcast alone about Young Guns too at some point. But compared to the first one, it is like I love William Peterson as Pat Garrett though. I agree.
Yeah.
But going back to William Peterson, so the interesting thing about this, and this speaks to Friedkin's sensibilities as a filmmaker. He pulled, and this is the story I've heard, maybe you all can corroborate this, Peterson out of like the Toronto Film Festival. He was specifically looking for actors that were not familiar faces. He's like, I want people that you've never seen before and who are right for the part. So he pulls Peterson out of there and populates this movie with a lot of folks who were not well-known actors at the time. Part of that because I think budgetary, and also because to that point of I don't give a damn what you think. I'm going to find the actors that I want, whether they are known or not.
Except for maybe Michael Green being the only familiar face from television and film. Yeah. Familiar face, I say, not superstar. But yeah, you're right. John Pankow was barely in anything at that point, probably.
Yeah, and he was brought on by Peterson. They were buddies in Chicago. Yeah. So you got a big Chicago cast. They were stage actors.
I didn't know any of that. No, you educated me on this, actually. I didn't know any of this either.
That's what I'm here for, Jordan.
The whole Steppenwolf Theater thing is amazing because this theater in Chicago has put out Malkovich, Gary Sinise, Joan Allen, Peterson. The Steppenwolf Theater in Chicago.
Laurie Metcalf also.
Laurie Metcalf. That's right. Glenn Headley. Just a great company. But then you've got John Turturro in this. You've got Willem Dafoe making his first big splash. You've got
a lot of acting power in this movie, no doubt.
Robert Downey Sr.
Yeah.
But anyways, let's talk about the plot. So basically this movie is about Secret Service agents and not in the line of fire sense. Apparently protecting the president is just a side hustle for the Secret Service. It's really an arm of the Treasury, and really what their business is about is probably like counterfeiting, fraud, money laundering, that sort of thing.
As the title sequence kind of gives us an indication of set up with the Wang Chung music kicking it off, of course, with the To Live and Die in LA theme song, which we got a music video out of even.
This movie is undeniably 80s, and if it wasn't 80s enough, it just slaps you in the face with Wang Chung.
Because Wang Chung did the soundtrack.
What do you guys think about that?
Well, I Wang Chung'd for like 2 weeks before this podcast as research, and I found it to be a very serious study. No, it works most of the time. I love the music, actually. I love the Wang Chung soundtrack.
I think there was something I had read that Friedkin specifically told the band, do not make a song with the title of the movie. It won't work, and it would be stupid. And they did it anyway, and they just nailed it, and he uses it. I don't know if the title song fits very well with the presidential motorcade. It was kind of an awkward way to start it off. But
they're using footage from the time period to make you feel like you're there. Kind of with them, and it's the actual president of the time period, Reagan himself, that they're protecting.
Yeah, they play him over in the background, so it's like, oh, okay, these guys are really there. And also timely is there's a generic Middle Eastern terror attack that they're stopping at this hotel.
Yeah.
Which, look, you have to just take a step back to the plot holes of this movie, of which there are many.
Or plot mines.
Plot mines, as we call them.
A new word we made up on the last podcast for League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Mines, plot mines. They just go off when you don't expect them.
They just go off. You're not expecting them.
You're not ready for them. You won't be ready for them. They just
Plenty of plot mines in this movie. It's based off a book written by a Secret Service agent. And they really went for authenticity with regards to the counterfeiting. And it's funny because those of us that are younger probably saw In the Line of Fire before we saw To Live and Die in LA. Yeah. So we all had the benefit of knowing that the Secret Service agents are Treasury employees, because Clint Eastwood is trying to bag some counterfeiters before he's trying to save the president again. But that's a different conversation. So we get this 80s soundtrack with a band that's probably known to the general public for 2 songs, and they make an actual exceptional soundtrack throughout this movie. The soundtrack's really good. It's a great standalone album that I actually do enjoy listening to.
To live and die in L.A.
It's certainly a varied soundtrack. It's sort of aggressive at times and slow and jazzy at other times, but it does fit the movie.
I used to own the vinyl, nerd alert, and on the liner notes, Friedkin compared them to like, I don't know if Friedkin was on blow when he was writing the liner notes, but he compared them like Stravinsky and Mozart and Beethoven.
I would venture to say yes, there was cocaine on the set of this movie.
That's a bold pronouncement, but yeah,
but,
okay. So some people
they also interject dance hall days into that one strip club scene where it's just like
they
okay,
do.
Yeah, I could this I could see. I could totally see that this makes sense. I get this.
Dance hall days, and you take her by the hand.
I'll plead the fifth on whether or not I've ever been in a strip club while Wing Chun played. But that one. I'm like, all right, okay.
Yeah. So talking about this movie, we have the two main characters here. One is, of course, like we mentioned, William Peterson, Richard Chance, who is the sort of, I guess, the young gun, hotshot treasury agent. And his longtime partner, Jimmy Hart, played by Michael Green, who literally gives us a literal "I'm getting too old for this shit" comment. Like, is the older
this is before
treasury
Lethal
agent.
Weapon, even
before Lethal Weapon.
2 years
Amazing.
Before Danny Glover would be saying it in a buddy cop film again.
He is literally 2 days away from retirement. Literally. You can't make this up.
This would become a staple in the 80s in TV shows and movies. That's the weird thing.
Did they invent the cliche? I don't know, but they certainly they nail it hard.
Can we talk about Michael Green for just a second, though? Because I think
yes, we
I was just
can.
watching. I saw him in Footloose even recently, watching Footloose again, and he's just such a natural. His career goes all the way back to like being a repeating character on Kung Fu. David Carradine Kung Fu. I didn't realize until I looked him up, but he just looks so normal and natural and apart. You know what I mean?
I wish we got more of him, and I'll mention that a little later. But Jordan, don't you recall when we talked about Less Than Zero? He was the cool uncle who did blow with Julian. So
he was, yes.
Friend of the podcast.
I saw him on there. Yes. To mention another Robert Downey Jr. movie, not senior this time.
Yeah.
But he was also in Lost in America, a great Albert Brooks movie.
Yeah, love that movie. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Anything Albert Brooks for that matter.
Anything Albert Brooks. I'm like, where are these bad Albert Brooks movies? Yeah.
We get introduced to these chums, these pals, with him pulling the terrorist off the building. And he's like scoping the scene, keeping an eye on everything. And so you're like, okay, these are the guys. They know what they're doing. They're on top of their game. Yeah. And then we meet William Peterson base jumping.
Yes.
Yeah, I love oh my God, this stunt. OMG. This stunt always got to me, still gets to me. In fact, I even stopped my wife in the other room. I went, honey, look at this. And she went, fuck no, when she saw it. I was like, look at that. I'm still trying to figure out that was William Peterson doing it himself even. I'm still confused.
Yeah, it looks real. He's standing on a bridge and we get a very early bungee fake out, right? And this is how these guys...
Extreme sports was even a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how these guys relieve stress because they got terrorists blowing up. They've got all sorts of things. I mean...
They need an adrenaline high out the ass.
Exactly. That's something I learned. Counterfeiting is serious business. Like, people die every day. You know what I mean? In the counterfeiting racket there.
I kept thinking, too, when he jumps off, like, the first thing that goes through people's minds when they jump off a bridge and live is, oh, I just made a mistake. Was that going through his mind, even with the cable on his leg? With the bungee on his leg, anyway.
Yeah, but so we already get the impression that he is a loose cannon of sorts and just a thrill seeker on every level and probably a very broken human being on the inside due to his job or what else.
They're betting on it. I don't know what they're exactly betting on, whether he would do it or not. But you find out later on in the movie, this is something he does all the time. And you talk about these plot lines, and it's like, why are they all betting on it if it's something he's known for doing all the time?
Wait, that was the guys cheering on the bridge, and when he got to his favorite like watering hole, like after that, was that what's going on? They were all betting on it. Man, you're right. That is a plot line.
And then he tells Jovovich, hey, you ever go base jumping? It's the best thing in the world. And it's like,
yeah.
Wait a second.
But now the betting plot mine just went off in front of me now. I'm sorry. It was a delayed plot mine for me here. It was a small, luckily it wasn't a big shrapnel explosion here.
No, but we get a lot of exposition that one scene. It just kind of happens very quickly. And that's when we find out all about.
Of course, I got that idea that this guy is just an extreme guy. He's like on a, you know, everything is extreme with him. This is how this is what he does in his spare time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and the writer of the book, Gerald Pedovich, is one of the guys in that scene putting the money in that beer pitcher to cameo.
Oh, is he?
No shit.
Yeah. I see. I bring something to the table.
He claimed, Joe, you got good looks and you got impeccable knowledge about movies.
I'm sorry if I'm talking too much here, Joe. Just interrupt me anytime.
But I heard, was his name Pekovich? The writer of the novel claimed to have written the screenplay, and I think he touched it up a little bit, but certainly like Friedkin was like, no, a lot of these ideas, this is, you know, they changed a lot from the book, but apparently they really used the novel as just a screenplay itself almost, and just took the story almost verbatim from it.
Huh.
Yeah.
But anyways, then we meet in a cool, lofty apartment an artist who likes to burn his crappy paintings. Who do we meet, Joe?
So we meet Eric Masters, a talented artist and exceptional counterfeiter who also has a few screws loose.
Yeah.
Willem Dafoe 101.
Yes.
Baby Willem Dafoe. Yes.
Chef's kiss.
Oh, man.
Yes. Bravo, Dafoe.
That dude can wear a turtleneck and look smarmy like no one else's business. And in this movie, he just nails the sleaziness to a whole level that you cannot really quantify. He is pure evil in this movie. It's great.
He is pure slimy 80s sleaze. You know, it just out of the gate, what a hell of a performance.
This was like the second movie I saw him in after Streets of Fire. And that was as a little kid, once again, watching this on cable or video, I can't remember, you know, with my dad and him having to change the channel, although I did. That was, you know, you do see Willem Dafoe. Willem Dafoe's bare ass there.
You see everyone's bare ass in this movie.
Everybody is naked in this movie. Yes, by the way, folks.
Send the kids to bed, folks, because this is not a family film. Okay?
It's not. This is a mommy and daddy movie. This is not for kids.
No. Graphic gunshots that would make RoboCop blush.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert on that for later. But again, there's the introduction to him burning his own art.
Yes.
And he's like cleaning up the scene of his counterfeiting scheme. And you get this dude is good at his job. He's got this attention to detail that is second to none. He is making the best dirty money you can imagine. And then he puts a bunch of stuff in a washing machine, including these poker chips. And I'm still vexed by that. I don't understand the poker chips.
I think he's aging the money, if I had to guess. That's what I took.
Is that what it is?
I thought that same thing maybe, like, because I didn't realize that's what it was. Till the third viewing, I didn't realize that was poker chips. So
I thought there was some metal thing, and then later on he pulls out the poker chip.
Yeah, and I thought it was something for the paper also, something to add to the paper to make it more waxy, like, or something like that. But
I don't know. But you get I loves me a montage. I love to learn things, and we get like this how it's made sort of montage about how to counterfeit. You know, FYI,
because he does not clearly have a regular ink printer like we do now.
Yeah,
so it's all done manually, kids, like a big printing press style manual.
And so Rick's partner decides to go scope this out. This lead. 2 days before retirement, by himself, alone, in the middle of the desert.
Yeah. What could go wrong?
Alone.
In Lancaster, California, that was like the setting of the last movie we were talking about with that director, John Binder, Euphoria.
Euphoria. It reminded me, we see some really ugly parts of LA, really like industrial parts, and we see some like
Lancaster's is flat and rocky, basically, and dry and whatever. It looks like.
It gives me a Breaking Bad vibe, except for all the Joshua trees. But yeah, you have 2 days till retirement. I would just like futz around the office, personally. I wouldn't go out and investigate one last lead by myself.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, so let's circle back around. Who do you think gave him the lead? That he trusted the lead enough to go scope out the place by himself and to be set up? because it was a setup.
Are we jumping ahead? Is this a question?
Well, no, I'm just leaving a rhetorical question for us to visit later, because this movie is full of bad informants looking to screw over their oligarch or their benevolent dictator or whoever it is they're beholden to. They're all the informants here are looking to screw somebody over while they're getting screwed over.
They're turning on the crime bosses, yeah.
Well, I think it's Waxman. I'm sorry. Waxman. It's Waxman. The whole thing is Waxman.
He's the Kaiser Soze behind the whole thing, I guess. Well, I'll have some hot takes at the end of this movie. But anyway, yeah, you're right. So he goes in to investigate. And this goes as you think it goes. Joe, what happens? He goes to this abandoned warehouse in the desert, and
he's looking around. He's rummaging. He's scoping the scene, and he's in a dumpster, fishing in a dumpster. And Willem Dafoe's head pops out of a horse. Like, dude, what are you thinking? You're in a dumpster by yourself, and the bad guys are there. And as soon as he turns around and hears the shotgun, the henchman number one just decides, and just shoots,
Yeah.
And Willem Dafoe walks over as this poor bastard Jim is laying there 2 days before retirement, old as shit. It's just like, you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, pal. Ironically, because again, hint, hint, somebody put him there. And then they proceed to just blow his brains out, and a scene that RoboCop rips off a few years later.
Yeah.
They're just unloading on this guy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Shotgun to the head. Everyone say it with me. 2 days from retirement. I mean, that's why you don't. That's why.
And also, mind you, this is all set in December in Los Angeles. Clearly, it's funny, though. I don't know why they even bother, because what does December look like in Los Angeles other than like most of the times of the year? And,
Yeah.
Well, my baseline is for Christmas in LA are Die Hard and Lethal Weapon.
Exactly. And Die Hard at least has Christmas trees up and shit. But you don't see any Christmas trees up at all in To Live and Die in LA. What the fuck?
Yeah. See, here's the thing is I've never seen this movie, full disclosure. So I'm along for the ride at this point. I'm like, what the hell's going on?
You've never seen this movie before the podcast?
Never. I'm not as cool as you guys.
Well, I barely remember it. I haven't seen it since I was a kid. And
yeah, but so at this point I thought like, is Joe giving us another Christmas movie? Because literally there are timestamps here, and this happens on. It's a counting down. I'm like, is it counting down to Christmas?
Well, it opens on December 20th. Yeah, and you're like, oh my god, how many shopping days till To Live and Die in LA?
This is a non-denominational crime film.
Pray if you want, don't pray.
There's no. Is it Hanukkah? Is it Christmas? We don't know. Nobody cares.
Is it Kwanzaa? Who cares?
Sucks.
Exactly.
Nobody cares. Like you've got Lethal Weapon, which is not a Christmas movie, but it's LA and there's a lot of crime.
Even Lethal Weapon reminds you it's Christmas, though.
Yeah. Here, it's like, who the fuck cares? Life sucks. It's a dark place.
Yeah, LA's a dark place, even in December, is what it's trying to tell you, and January.
There's no Christmas in this world. There's no joy in this world.
Yeah. Exactly.
Friedkin.
The hospital scene, the prison scene, the apartment complex.
Yeah.
The people's house, the bar. No, sorry. No Christmas.
All I can say is Merry Friedkin Christmas.
Good one.
Sorry, I couldn't help it.
Dad Joke of the podcast is brought to you by Miller Genuine Draft.
Yes, living the high life.
But what would a noir Christmas look like? Like everyone just sitting around smoking cigarettes? It's like...
Dude, L.A. Confidential. L.A. Confidential is set during the holidays. And they're celebrating Christmas.
Yeah.
There's no Christmas. There's no New Year's. There's no countdown.
Yeah. To Live and Die in LA makes it all the way till mid-January, and there's not even a New Year's celebration.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
I got you a present. It's a double cross, Like,
I got you a gift, and it's like wrapped in counterfeit money paper.
The only present in this movie is Jan leaves in lingerie.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I texted Anthony with a picture of that earlier, actually. And I said, here's a surprise.
First of all, for those listening who don't, Jane Leaves was Daphne and Frasier, and years prior to that,
That's where I know her from.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had a huge crush on her as a kid.
And she was also
Huge.
on a show called Throb, oddly, in the 80s, right?
That's news to me. I did not know that one. But she was the virgin on Seinfeld. Marla, the virgin.
Whoa.
Joe, what is the significance of the timestamps here? I never figured that out. What are we counting down toward?
I don't think it does anything more than let you know that this isn't the next day. It's not 2 days later.
Okay.
This isn't a guy this is a process.
Yeah.
And they're going nonstop. So I think it's just to get you comfortable with the fact that if you didn't have those timestamps, you would think this is going on in within a span of 5 days.
It's
because the editing is so bad.
Yeah. So
the editing is all over the
it's
place.
Lazy writing, bad editing. Yes.
I mean, look, you gotta, this movie is very pretty to look at, very pretty to watch. The performances, it's like Gladiator, right? Gladiator is such a horribly written movie. And if you don't have Russell Crowe delivering those lines, Gladiator's a piece of shit movie.
Yeah, true.
Period.
Were you not entertained?
Yeah, I mean, you've got to just accept that, like every movie that we love, has a lot of flaws, but to take a $6 million budget and to make this action movie where you're just enthralled between the lack of morality and the performance is captivating you, it's just fascinating. Plus, the attention to detail on the counterfeiting and the actual criminal activity is really something else.
Oh yeah, it feels real. I will say that. And so, so Chance comes. They find the warehouse. They find out all the equipment has been moved. Find his dead partner in a dumpster. So this is already an uplifting movie.
Yeah. Doesn't Secret Service agents go to a scene and nobody thinks there's a puddle of blood under the dumpster? They just, hey, what's that?
I'll tell you, too, the one thing that pissed me off about this scene, I'm sorry. I don't hate this movie. No, I'm not at all. But I hate that he shot the lock off.
Oh, yeah, that's a
Even
cliche.
at that point, that was so cliche. We'd seen that in TV shows at that point. He couldn't hack it off even with like a...
Yeah,
you know.
I get you. That's a good point, Jordan, because these guys don't feel like Treasury agents. And I don't know, someone's like, actually, Anthony, blah, 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 whatever.
Joe brings up a good point, too. Why didn't they see the blood already or suspect the blood or smell the dumpster already? They can't smell human bodies when they're rotting. They're just used to the smell of toner on a copier.
Yeah, because they investigate bank fraud all day long. I mean, come on. There's only like a 5-minute training, like whenever they go through basic or whatever they go through over at an agent school, just like, and here's what a dead body looks like. Now, you're never going to encounter this because, this doesn't happen in our line of business, but just know, whatever. But these guys really feel like hard-nosed LA cops or detectives. They don't feel like Treasury agents investigating like counterfeit.
Yeah, like Secret Service. Yeah.
Yeah, the federal government.
Yeah,
and all of its resources. And they're walking by the dumpster, leaking blood, and they're letting one agent go by himself to follow a lead on his own 2 days before retirement. It's just, there's a lot of silly...
This movie is more akin to a Western, I mean, right down to William Peterson's cowboy boots, even, which I love.
He is a cowboy. And so... New partner comes in now, and who is it?
Vukovich banging on his door, even though he's on the balcony above going, "What do you want?"
Yeah, it's John Vukovich, played by John Pankow. And when I saw this movie, again, I didn't see it when it first came out. I had developed this thirst for hate for the show Mad About You with Paul Reiser.
Oh, me too. Me too, Joe. I was like...
It's one of the worst fucking things. I hated it. And then I see Cousin Ira. And I'm like, what the fuck is Cousin Ira doing in this?
Oh, that's where I remember him from later.
He's got more hair, but you're right. I just hated that show so much. I mean, Helen Hunt is cool, but good God, no.
But it's Paul Reiser, isn't it?
Yeah. Well.
Oh, what a terrible show.
I mean, it's too bad we didn't find Paul Reiser in a dumpster. I don't know. No, that's mean. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But,
no, I mean, after you see Aliens, you'll always feel that way about Paul Reiser.
Yes.
But
yeah. Even his mom felt that way.
But that being said, yeah, he signs up. He's like, hey, I'm your man. And Chance tells him, look, I'm going to get this guy no matter what. I don't care. It's going to be my way or the highway, and fuck the law. Fuck everybody. He killed my best friend. And the guy's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, good enough.
There's a red flag there, pal.
I'm sorry about your partner. But yeah, this becomes a revenge flick at this point.
Yeah.
Doesn't it?
Right. Can't move on. In a little segment we have, it's called Advice to New Cop Partners. Look, If you come in and your new partner can't get over his old partner, his or her old partner, you might want to think about getting an assignment to another partner.
It's not going to get any better from there.
It is not.
I'm just going to say.
Yeah. Again, we've got a loose cannon officer of the law in boots with a place by the beach, drinking a beer, saying, I don't care.
Yeah.
Who does that remind us of?
Back when you could afford to live in Malibu on a cop salary.
Right. But I mean, like, this is like the blueprint for Martin Riggs.
Exactly.
I'm picturing Shane Black watching this movie being like, oh, yeah, this is good stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, this movie...
They got a cease and desist letter.
This movie clearly inspired some stuff later on.
No doubt.
I like Shane Black. Shane Black's a great writer. He's a great director. But come on, Shane Black. You saw this movie.
True. And I totally agree. It's a very hackneyed drama, but some of this you're like, wait a minute.
2 days till retirement. I'm too old for this shit. The guy lives by the beach and wears cowboy boots and drives a ghetto-ass truck. He jumps off the bridge for fun. Dude, and this is why I was waiting for this moment. Thank you. I'm on my fucking soapbox.
Well, even Kubrick stole from this movie, kind of, because Matthew Modine was familiar with this movie, apparently. And when he saw Full Metal Jacket, Kubrick couldn't figure out how to do this one gunshot. And Matthew Modine said, you should do it. Like, have you ever seen To Live and Die in L.A.? And Kubrick either had seen it or hadn't remembered it, kind of thing. And he goes, no, what are you talking about? And he goes, this one scene. And he had an assistant get him the VHS just to study this scene, to look at the gunshot.
Yeah, it does a very hackneyed and tropey genre very well.
But talk about stealing, though. Even Kubrick kind of stole from this movie slightly, is all I'm saying.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, I think it's, like I said, it's done well. It's mac and cheese done very, very well.
Mac and cheese with hamburger done extra well.
And so then we meet John Turturro playing Carl Cody, who is, he works for Masters, taking a $45 flight to San Francisco back in the day.
Wow.
Pays for it in cash.
In cash.
Did you see security? Non-existent security. If I had a time machine.
Walks up to the, hi, I'd like to buy a ticket to San Francisco. Here's some cash. See you later. What? Yeah.
And they X-ray his bag, and he's got $20,000 in counterfeit in there, and it's just like, all right, move along. I mean, unbelievable.
Could have had some kind of weapon on him.
But man, that scene where William Peterson jumps the rail to run down.
Yes, this whole sequence, like after Vukovich comes in, says to the lady, can I see that money? Secret Service agent here. And he looks at the money and starts to erase it. That always got to me. He's erasing it, and just to see how fake it is, because he erases the number off there easily. And then he gives William Peterson the eye contact, this ain't real. That's the guy.
Love the tension. I love the tension. God. He's like, it's like, hurry up. Is it? And he's getting away. He's getting through security. I love that just simple tension.
Like a car chase right there, but by foot in LAX there.
So the pencil eraser scene reminded me of the scene in Midnight Run where Charles Grodin asks for all the 20s, and he does the litmus test or whatever he calls it and says these are all fake.
Yeah.
This movie gets so heavily borrowed from, and maybe it is a thing, maybe it wasn't a thing. I don't remember the 80s very well.
But nobody gives it enough credit, right? I mean, when you think about it, kind of like this movie is more stolen from than people want to give it credit for.
Right.
Yeah. So, of course, they catch Cody, and then he's in jail, and Rick visits him. And I don't think I've seen John Turturro and Willem Dafoe.
Let's be careful. There's Eric. It's confusing because there's Eric and there's Rick.
Eric.
Dafoe goes in there and is like, Waxman tells me you didn't make the drop-off. And Turturro is just like, fuck him. He fucking set me up. I'm not going to snitch. It's pre-Miller's Crossing, pre-Barton Fink. It's just
baby Turturro once again.
Just dropping MF bombs. I love these two together, and I love seeing a young Turturro reaching for it. Like, hey, this is my shot. I'm in a movie. Check this out. See what I can do.
He's given his all in this movie. He's such a great performance.
And then Masters is like, all right, okay. I'm just going to kill everybody involved in this transaction.
Yeah. He was supposed to have delivered some money before he got apprehended at the airport to this guy, Max, as Joe said, and it didn't happen. So then we see Dean Stockwell, storied actor. Where do we know Dean Stockwell from, everybody?
Well, prior to that or after that, because prior to that, Dean Stockwell was a child actor with a great resume. He goes as far back as Gentleman's Agreement with Gregory Peck. And you talk about David Lynch. I mean, he was in Dune.
Yeah.
A year before. And
he was in so much. Werewolf of Washington, Psych Out.
He was in Paris, Texas the year before.
Yeah,
starring
Harry Dean Stanton's brother.
Starring my friend Hunter Carson. And it's funny, Robbie Mueller, who shot Paris, Texas, also shot this movie.
Oh, yeah. But Dean Stockwell gets an Oscar nomination a couple of years later for Married to the Mob.
Yes.
Horribly underrated film. And then
Quantum Leap, lest we leave out Quantum Leap.
Yeah.
Al, not Al, I'm sorry, the guy. Well, he had Al on the little.
No, he's Al.
There.
He's Al. It's
he is Al, that's
boop,
right,
boop,
yeah.
Boop, boop. Ziggy
is the thing,
Yeah, Ziggy says you leaped in here to make sure that the kid doesn't drown in the swimming pool in 2 days. And until then, you got to make sure the mom softens up. Boop, boop, boop. I got to go.
He's everywhere. He's amazing in every role. Yeah.
Yeah.
And here he plays a lawyer and he says, Ziggy says you can't get Cody out because they're keeping him under suspicion for murdering Jim Hart.
Oh my God. He's the Al in this movie.
He is. He's going to have to do 3 years to keep the prosecutor somewhat happy. But, of course, Masters doesn't want him to sing. He's scared for his life. Don't mess with Masters. He's an intimidating dude.
Yeah.
And then we meet the informant. Who's the informant in this movie?
Oh, you're talking about Darlene Flugel?
Darlene Flugel, yeah, plays Ruth.
Yeah.
Who I also know from Battle Beyond the Stars as the love interest, the Roger Corman.
She was the love interest in Running Scared. She was
also
Billy
Running
Crystal's
Scared.
ex-wife.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Max Waxman is moving a lot of these counterfeit bills for Masters. And then we cut to a very 80s modern dance performance.
Yeah, it looks like something out of The Hunger, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. Good
the
call.
Tony Scott movie, which I love. You expect Bauhaus music to be over this scene.
Yeah, there's some crazy kabuki shit going on there.
And of course, we got Wang Chung. We got to use Wang Chung on this movie.
Yeah.
Once again. So, yeah.
I don't know what's going on in the music in this part, but it fits.
Yeah.
And who do we meet as one of the dancers as Masters goes in to the dressing room?
Is this Deborah Fewer, his girlfriend?
No. This is Bianca. This is Defoe's girlfriend. It's at first implied. This is the first scene where it's implied that she's in a relationship with Willem Dafoe and with Daphne from Frasier.
Yes.
Yes.
And he comes over, and after this weird-ass kabuki 80s performance, Willem Dafoe grabs this made-up wigged person, gender unspecific at that moment.
Yeah.
She almost looks like a young guy kind of at first.
Right. And you're like, your sensibilities are jarred because it's 1985, and Willem Dafoe's a little artsy. But it's her.
See, I thought when I saw that the same thing. I was like, oh, is this a dude? And I was like, this movie has some cojones here. I was like, I'm liking where this is going. And I was almost disappointed when she pulls the wig off and it's a chick. I don't know what that says about me, but I was.
I'm not here to judge, but she's.
But same here.
She's beautiful,
whoa.
But I thought this movie was going in a different direction. Let's just put it that way.
Her husband at the time of this movie is Mickey Rourke.
Mm.
Oh, yeah. Deborah. Is this Deborah Fewer? Is that her name?
No.
Yeah, am I getting my actress? Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting them crossed because Deborah Fewer is not Darlene Flugel. Deborah Fewer is Bianca, who is the redhead, who's also part of the scheme that we'll find out about later.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay.
But she's the dancer. In real life, she's married to Mickey Rourke, which makes me wonder if Mickey Rourke would have been good in this movie. Because at the time, this seemed like it would have kind of been his jam, and maybe he was too expensive for them.
Yeah, I mean, he would have been good at... I don't know if he could do the action, but I was thinking sort of that same thing, too. You got 80s noir, Mickey Rourke can come in.
Yeah.
Well, if there was more of a slimy... counterfeiter kind of part. Yeah, he could play that for sure. He belongs in this movie.
This is a year before Barfly, so maybe he might have had something else going on at the time, but he would have blended in well with this movie, sure.
Yeah, he would have made a pretty good Rick Chance, I think.
Or Max, maybe.
Or Rick, or Masters,
or maybe, yeah. Fantasy casting.
It's interesting, but Masters comes in and, they get a little intimate in the dressing room, and Daphne from Frasier, looking on with a grin. And at first you're just like, well, that's a little voyeuristic. But then once you've seen the whole movie and you watch it again, you're like, whoa, there was more to that.
There's more to that. There's
something going on there.
I didn't catch that at first.
I had a stripper friend when I was in my 20s, and that easily could have happened if you just showed up in
a stripper friend.
Yeah, if you were her boyfriend and just showed up like that, I'm sure it could have happened there, and then just the other women in the room just would have been like, "Oh, look at that." Okay.
Is there like a 5-minute portion of the podcast where we like? I had a stripper friend in my 20s, Chad, or do we?
Yeah, no, that's a lead into another podcast, actually.
Okay.
Down the road.
Stripper friends.
There's a paywall in front of that discussion.
Yeah.
On our next podcast, stripper friends.
A wife, girlfriend, paywall.
Yes.
Anyway.
Wife, girlfriend, or husband, whoever used to be, whoever you know.
We're not here to judge you.
We're not here to judge you. Talk about your experience.
Volkovich and Chance are out staking out Max across the street, right? And then Bianca arrives to sell him some of the counterfeit money. And he's wondering why Rick isn't pissed off, because clearly he stole some money from Masters.
Yeah.
And I think the line is, first you take my money, then you tried to fuck my woman, or something like that.
Oh, when he walks on that,
yeah, Masters walks in.
Well, she's like, I love the sound of the... Again, dude, how I guess here it's okay, because we know this guy's a douchebag moron, but she's like, leaves the back door wide open, and it's like, I love the sound of the rain. Let's do it here.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, she just left the door open, you fucking...
When I was watching the scene again, I was trying to remember, like, the bad lead up. I remember in the background my dad watching as a kid. I remember that, like, because my dad changed it when the dude starts to start kissing on her. Because he goes, like, almost down on her, almost, and then, bam, Willem Dafoe's watching, you realize. He walks right in, because the look in her eyes is so cold, like an android and like a replicant in Blade Runner, where she doesn't care. This is mechanical for her. And then, bam, Willem Dafoe shows up, and you're like, oh, fuck. But, yeah, when she opened the door, I thought, oh, God, this isn't going to go good.
Yeah.
This is how this is going to go down. In a bad way.
Yeah, Masters is a bad motherfucker in this movie. He's scary. So when he shows up, you're like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
And then what happens? Yeah, what happens, Joe? How's the scene play out?
Well, basically, it's John Turturro, Cody's word against Waxman's word, whether Waxman tipped them off as to Cody's presence and stole the money because Turturro never made the drop-off. And it's just a lot of crosswords. So the deal was Turturro allegedly dropped off the funny money and got some real money back, and Waxman saying this never happened. And so Masters is like, I'm just going to kill everybody involved here because this is just stupid. Gets a gun over to Waxman's head, says, open up the safe, give me my money back because this never played out the way it should have. Gets assaulted, takes an African art piece to the head. Before Waxman can get to his gun in the safe, he shoots him in the crotch.
Yeah, ouch.
Yeah, then kills him and then compliments him on his art. Like, oh, wow, it's a shame. This is a really nice piece or something like that. It's really weird.
After getting whacked in the fucking head with the same piece, it's funny because you, like, when he's picking it up, you see his feet kind of stumbling even because you're like, how the hell did he survive that thing? It just shows you how tough the guy is, obviously, if he survived like a big whack in the head, too.
There's a lot of head trauma in this movie.
And there are a lot of awkward fights, and somebody gets knocked down and still has a gun. And then, anyway, there's some really awkward fights, and not necessarily this one, but some of the later ones, I'm just kind of like, if I had a fight and someone filmed it, it would look terrible because I'm not probably a very good fighter, nor is the person I think I would be fighting.
In reality, I think all fights are probably like that most of the time on average.
They look clumsy.
And they look clumsy, and they probably look like more a Laurel and Hardy affair or something.
Yeah.
Or something just...
Somebody misses.
Probably look more like the Three Stooges.
And then there's some slapping. Yeah. This movie looks like that. It looks like a for real bar fight. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Get your fingers out of my nose. Why's your finger in my one eye? Ow!
Yeah. So then he gets killed. Max gets killed, and across the street, if you'll recall, there should be 2 federal agents watching this, but
It's supposed to be Chance and Vukovich watching the caper, and they're like, "Oh, we're missing the caper." One of them wakes up.
Yeah.
Or Vukovich wakes up and realizes they're missing out on the whole thing.
The worst cops ever at prime time for watching the stakeout are asleep. So there you go.
Retitle this movie, Not the Best Stakeout.
Well,
bad joke, I'm sorry.
They're at a church, and they're eating like cookies and milk, and they're like snuggled up.
Yeah.
And Cousin Ira fucks up and falls asleep. And they witness the cops showing up after the murders happened. And they run down there. And then the next scene is William Peterson, Chance, walking around with the guy's little black book of crime.
Yeah.
Like, who the fuck keeps a little black book of crime?
Who does this? Yeah, this diary has the dates that he's dropped off the counterfeit money, the amounts.
Oh, this is the black book that he stole from the crime
little
scene.
black book.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, so you're telling me the cops haven't picked this up yet. Masters didn't take it with him before he left.
Yeah.
Again, I mean, is everyone this like just a shitty criminal in LA?
Yeah.
It's really sloppy stuff here.
These are dumb criminals because he's got that whole book and it doesn't have names, thank goodness. Well, except for Chad, the boy in math class that Max has a crush on. But except for that, it has like, hey, just hand this over to the cops. And that's exactly what happens. But the whole issue here is that the Treasury agents steal it. Chance steals this, and it should be booked into the police investigation here. So I feel like...
but he bends the rules to get the job done. And this was his partner who died. Darn it. And this is revenge.
This is when the movie begins to take a turn. This is when lines are starting to be crossed.
Yeah, it's the first time where Cousin Ira sees... Like, Cousin Ira takes the step to... I'm going to turn into a bad guy one day. He's supposed to be Jiminy Cricket. Mm-hmm. He gets assigned to be Chance's partner against his will. And now it's like, you can't take that. You got to submit it. You got to do this. He's like, hey, I'm going to do whatever it takes. Are you with me or not, partner? And Cousin Ira's like, and I know I'm being a dick calling him Cousin Ira.
I love Cousin Ira.
Cousin Ira. And Cousin Ira's like, all right, but just this one time. Just this one time, I'm going to let you violate the rule of law and evidence and fuck up any prosecution of Willem Dafoe's character. Masters be damned. Yeah. I mean, what the fuck?
Yeah.
One time we're going to let you bend the rules.
This is why OJ got away with it. This is the kind of police work.
Literally.
Let OJ go free.
Literally doing the defense's job for them. Here's a giant hole. Well, where'd you get the diary from? Well, what happened is you see, anyway.
Right.
It's just another day to live and die in LA.
There we go. And so Chance goes to Ruth's apartment, and then what happens? I think we sort of alluded to this maybe.
Well, they become intimate.
Yes.
Boy, this scene, are we talking about this scene now?
This scene.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, I can't talk. Oh.
There's a lot of pubes, and they are intimate.
Yeah, this scene looks like softcore almost. But hey, everybody's in shape. I mean, all parties should be happy. The male and female, the non-binaries, everybody should be happy.
Everyone's
with this
happy
scene.
in this scene.
Yeah, this is some, it's good stuff.
It's tastefully done. It's well lit. Right. Everybody's bodies are in shape.
Did either of your wives walk in when you were watching this? I certainly hope not.
Oddly, no. I was shocked. I seriously thought that was going to happen. I really did.
I actually watched this with my wife. I don't know what the big deal is. Yeah, I mean, my wife and I have a Morticia and Gomez thing going on, so it's like, all right.
Well, my wife and I right now are sharing the gardener, but that's another story. But I'm not going to go into that here on the podcast, okay?
Paywall,
no,
by the way.
But no, she never walked in once when I was watching this scene, oddly. And both times I watched it, this morning and last night, and the other time. I was shocked.
And even when you showed it to her on your phone, you're like, look at this. And she's like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, she was just like,
the screen captures. Yeah. The screen captures are what's going to get them in trouble. Did you have to take the pictures on your TV on your phone?
Okay, yeah. Maybe
all
so,
right.
Yes.
So we get to see two. Go ahead. Sorry.
Two consenting adults making sweet, sweet love, and then you realize they're not.
Or two wounded, unhappy people with deep issues making out. That's what I saw.
But that's not what it is. They're not consenting because what we find out is there is basically a hostage. There is an informant who is having to perform sexually for a crooked and again, we're watching this with our Me Too goggles on in this day and age.
Yeah,
where it's just like
it's kind of it's kind of like it's a Mitchell relationship. Remember that movie Mitchell that we first saw in Mystery Science Theater 3000 with Jodan Baker and Linda Evans. And that whole relationship they had where she's like, "Oh, look at it. He busts me and then he takes me back in." You know, it's like,
I'm going to keep sleeping with you so that you don't throw me in jail. And
yeah.
You're going to. And he tells her, "If you want bread, go fuck a baker."
Yeah.
Love that line.
Yeah, he does.
Wow.
How cold. Oh my God. What an a-hole.
The asshole scale is off the chart.
I need money. I'm bringing my kid in. Yeah, it's just like, oh, you're a monster.
Yeah.
I got you. And this has been going on before your partner got killed.
Yeah, she says too, she needs money because she's got a kid, $500. You know, he's like, $500? She's like, what? I told you I have a kid coming in from the blah, blah, blah. You know, like, well, when the bust happens, you'll get another $500. You know that, you know, something like that. It's like, what? Come on, man.
She tells him there's a guy coming in with a bunch of cash. And he's like, the fuck do I care about some guy coming in with a bunch of cash and whatever? Fuck off. I got what I needed out of you, and I'm going to go and do my thing again. But then that's information he needs because, and I'll punt it over, hot potato to one of you guys.
Yeah. So then
needs, yes.
So she tells him that basically there is a pickup going.
The host of the show.
A pickup going on here.
That's us. Yes,
that's us.
Yeah, that's us.
No, but so anyway, there's. She says that there's a rich guy, a rich Asian dude who comes down from San Francisco and he buys up a bunch of gold and diamonds and stuff. Yeah. He's like, hey, I'm not into that because I'm a treasury agent.
She uses these words like she says China and man together in the same
It's like
sentence.
an episode of Kung Fu.
I'm sorry, people, because of the time period it was made, I'm just going to warn you ahead of time with this line. Anyway.
It feels like 1885, honestly, and not 1985, but...
It's a great line. Like, this isn't a guy who built the railroads, Lebowski. It's just funny. But they finally get their ducks in a row to bag masters because of this book, and they pretend to be these like country club douchebags with offshore accounts
from Palm Springs.
Right,
no less.
A very Fletch moment here. They're just coming in.
They're like Ted Nugent. And what's your name? Springer, Jerry.
Babar. It's Jessup, and they go to his gym where he works out 3 to 5 days a week.
What a gem. Yeah. It's got a steam
And he requires, and he just tells them, like, I think you guys are full of shit. He has Bianca break into their car to sniff
investigate,
out what's
see
going
if they're
on.
real guys,
And it's like, this checks out. And
she describes every content that's in the front seat and the back seat of their car, right down to tennis rackets, fake IDs that are Palm Springs identified.
Yeah, so Masters wants $30K in advance for all this fake money that these Cayman Island bankers, in quote, need to do their money laundering activities, presumably whatever they're going to do. And I guess this is just how you do business with Masters. You just show up at his gym and in public in the locker room.
Why not?
Solicit his business. I mean, come on. They're not even using code words.
I bet all the deals are done in a steam room after working out, and yes, over a leg press and all that. Sure. And some dumbbells. Yeah, absolutely. Especially in the 80s.
So Jordan, let's say you and I are at LA Fitness and like, hey, Jordan, I'm going to give you money, American cash money, and you are going to give me drugs. Okay.
Well, Anthony, follow me over to the leg press over here first, and then I'm gonna do some free weights if you don't mind while we talk about that.
Here's the thing: he does his curls, he talks shop, and what does he do? What does Willem Dafoe do? He wipes it down.
Yes.
After he sweats all over.
I noticed.
What a mensch!
He is. Yes.
What a gentleman! True gentleman. What a mensch!
What kind of fucking monster?
If you take nothing away from this podcast, folks, wipe it down.
Yeah, like just wipe down your gym equipment. You know how many times people, like the decency of this guy to just abide by human, like etiquette. That's all it is, etiquette.
He might be a criminal, but at least he picks up the dog shit after he walks his dog in the park.
That's all I'm saying. It's the little things.
Exactly.
You know?
And hey, Friedkin humanizes him. I'm kind of like, well, maybe he's not that bad of a guy now. I don't know. He's killed a few people, but
he doesn't leave a dirty diaper on the side of the road if he's got a kid. You know what I mean? He's not that kind of guy.
His cigarette butts go into an ashtray.
Exactly.
The guy has,
even in the 80s.
The guy has scruples. That's all I'm saying. And so
complex character.
He tells them, come up with $30K.
Yeah.
And if you can't come up with $30K, you're full of shit.
I go into all business situations the same way as this.
Yeah.
You know what? If you don't have your $30K right up front, you're full of shit. Bye.
Right.
Hello, bye.
It's a good policy to have. It's a good business model if you're a counterfeiter. I take 20% and I want a down payment of $30K.
Yeah. And his logic is, you can trust me because I have a gym membership. I work out here all the time.
Yeah.
Ask anybody about me. So who the fuck are they going to ask? Like, do you know the guy who counterfeits? Is he a good guy? Is he really going to get me my money? Like, come on.
Ask anybody here at this Ventura Boulevard location, LA Fitness, that we're at right now, and they will tell you that I have a good reputation.
As a counterfeiter.
This is not a Gold's Gym, sir. Okay, this is a very exclusive gym. And so they need the money, and they get shot down. Robert Downey Jr.'s dad is like, first of all, you're fucking up left and right, but we're not going to discipline you. And second of all, I'm not giving you $30,000. Nobody gets $30,000.
Yeah.
Well, that's why this never works. Chicken, egg, fuck you.
Yeah.
You know?
He's like telling him that the bottom line, if you're going to prove shit that is undercover, is 10 grand. Something we learned from this movie that I did not know.
Yeah.
When you're doing federal shit.
Noted. Yeah. For once, I take the chief side in this because he's busting Chance's balls. But look, a part we kind of skipped over. He got Cody out of prison, John Turturro's character out of prison.
Oh, that's right.
And then fucking lost him because he's just an idiot. He got totally conned there. So he lost a prisoner. And then he didn't tell them about them going to see Rick in the first place. I'm sure there's paperwork you have to fill out. And the chief even points it out, right? He's like, hey, you didn't fill out Form 1095A, whatever, saying that you're, doing this investigation and going undercover and meeting this guy. So now you want fucking money from me? I mean, so you're grounded.
To touch on that, though, talk about plot lines. This guy is such a hard-nosed, fuck you, single mom and your kid coming in from Vegas. And then he uncuffs John Turturro to go see his daughter in the hospital, which makes no sense. And then my daughter's in the hospital. Check it out. What's her name? Rose. You didn't want a date of birth? I mean, this is anything. It doesn't occur to you to HIPAA didn't exist.
Uncuffs him in the elevator, not even in the room, the hospital room, just
amateur hour mistakes. And then you get to, I'm sorry, we're not going to support your little vendetta. Dude, this is the number one murder suspect in the murder of a Secret Service agent. Yeah. Okay? No one's got surveillance on him. I don't think you've appreciated that Rick Chance might have more than a little bit of a hunch here as to who murdered your colleague. And you guys aren't maybe possibly doing enough to, say, bust this guy. What the fuck is happening here?
I know. I almost wish Rick Chance had like Axel Foley's police captain from Detroit yelling at him like, I'm tired of you, Rick Chance. You writing how many checks have I written for your fucking ass, Rick Chance? Hello?
Yeah, but he's not as charming as Eddie Murphy. Well, Captain, first I'd like to say that I really enjoy your tie, and you're really put together very well. And,
he doesn't. Rick Chance isn't as funny, that's for sure.
No, there's no. It's just like fuck you. I'll do whatever it takes. Yeah. But I'm just saying we've glossed over the number one murder suspect of a federal agent is not really being investigated potentially.
Yeah, but I will say that this is where the movie picks up for me. Because before it was like sort of arty and trying to set this atmosphere, very noir.
Yeah.
And this is when the movie begins to change. Because now they want to get that $50,000. He's got to fund this investigation somehow, give Masters his money. The only way to get this money is that offhanded tip that Ruth gave him, that Ling, the guy from San Francisco, that Ruth told him about. And he's trying to convince Volkovic to go along with this, right? So to take this bad money to buy fake money, and Volkovic makes a point to Volkovich, however you say it, who's the court going to believe? We already have evidence problems. And now you're going to be like, so we stole this money and then, we bought this fake money and then we busted Masters. Like it's a foolproof plan. No, It's full of holes. It's a terrible idea. And it is the line. It is that thin blue line that Volkovich is presented with at this point.
They're literally sitting there over Miller High Lifes together in the bar, yelling back and forth about
They're
this.
outside having burgers and beer.
Yeah.
But I think this is the point where I think Vukovich realizes he's not going to arrest Masters. He's going to kill him.
Oh.
I think this is where it's like, this is where we're headed. I told you I'm going to get this guy.
The tip off for the audience. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
That's how I look at it. It's like,
that's where he decided early on to do it before he was traumatized or whatever.
Right. I'm going to do this guy in. This is my goal. And I think as the audience, at least, we're like, I mean, for me, I'm like, that's when it clicked. All the fun. And that's why I brought up all the little screw ups with I'm taking this, I'm doing that, and Vukovich is like you're ruining the case against this guy, and it's like it's implied to me. It's like I'm not arresting this guy.
Oh, because he actually says unless you want to go in there and blow his brains out yourself, which obviously you want to do.
Right.
And he does threaten him. He says, "You better watch yourself on the streets too if you don't go along with this." So there's that pressure, but this is definitely when this movie begins to happen because I don't know. I sat here and I thought I was trying to put myself in Vukovich's shoes, and he's had every opportunity to leave, right? I mean, he's seen all this. Is he complicit at this point? Why is he going along with this when he's getting blatant threats? And clearly, Chance is gone off the rails at this point. It's an obsession. It's not even about his dead partner anymore.
Well, that's why he runs to Grimes for legal advice. I know we're jumping around a little bit, but now he's like, okay, so you're Master's lawyer, but I need a couple of tips from you as well. That comes later on, but Grimes reaches out because Grimes is like, I don't want anything to do with Masters, which we should have known better to take with a grain of salt. But Grimes goes for the weaker link and trying to compromise this guy's loyalty by appealing to his better senses and not money. I mean, the guy is still has this, I'm on the fence, I'm really conflicted, I want to be a good cop, I want to help do this the right way. But how do you get corrupt? It's like Michael Corleone. It's not one thing. There was a Reddit one time, I'm paraphrasing here, but everyone crapping on George Lucas for fucking up the prequels. And somebody's like on Reddit, well, what's a better way to tell a story about somebody inherently good becoming inherently evil? And somebody said, Michael Corleone.
Yeah.
Darth Vader's story, Anakin Skywalker's story to Darth Vader is just Michael Corleone's story.
Exactly.
You just had to fucking copy that. And so it's never just one thing. It's a series of things that Vukovich goes through where it's like, okay, well, people aren't always exactly on Master's side. Maybe there is a way to get to this guy, and he's just totally all over the place in his own world, in his own dilemmas, while Masters is just got tunnel vision on getting Masters in a corner, nailed down. And he could just go kill the guy, but it doesn't make for a good movie as much as busting him in the act.
And I think in some way he wants to be the hero of his own story too. Chance is definitely off the deep end. He is a liability to everyone around him at this point. And I think the rest of the movie is trying to manage him. People trying to manage him. He's really going off the deep end. And the next thing that happens is he goes to the strip club. And gentlemen, I want to posit here that there are 3 words that mean quality when put together in the English language. Topless from 11 a.m. That might be 4 words. But Rick goes to the strip club to see Ruth, right? And finds out about the guy coming in to buy the diamonds, Thomas Ling. So then Chance is at the train station. And this is the scene that is brought to you by Miller High Life and Camel Cigarettes. The choice of our nation's treasury agents. He's sitting there, drunk, brooding. And then whenever Ling comes, Chance captures this dude in the broad daylight in the middle of a train station, this guy who apparently has all this money on him, and forces him into a car. And who comes up to pick them up in the car? That's the seminal moment when we know that the decision has been made, at least for me.
Cousin Ira.
Yeah, Cousin Ira comes up.
In that car, tells you, okay, I see what you're saying. First of all, I thought when you said the strip club in three words that screamed classy would be Dance Hall Days, because that's the song playing.
It is.
Oh, yeah, Dance Hall Days. I forgot that wasn't the scene. I could.
It's your cut's going to be 5, and, she's working the front. I mean, this poor woman has just got it. You feel badly for her so far.
Dance Hall Days.
Dun, 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 dun.
Take your baby by the hand.
Oh, it's a really off-putting song when you
Yeah.
hear the lyrics. Yeah, it's like whisper your darkest fears. Like, what the fuck is happening? The 80s were a weird time, people.
Yeah.
So Cousin Ira pulls up in the car and he's like, okay, this is going to be plain and simple. We're going to get the money and get the fuck out of here because they don't know what's really happened.
Yeah.
The informant, again, this is what we were talking about earlier. The informants are out to fuck their sugar daddies / counterfeiters / cops, whoever you want to put in
the
there.
The capo, masters,
yes.
the head, all the head, everyone's screwing everybody over here. Everyone who's an underling is out for their own, save themselves really, and also screw over who's above them.
So you don't know what you're watching this scene and you're like, oh man, this is going to go very badly. And Grodin, sorry, I say Grodin because this is another part that's lifted
Grodin?
into
Charles Grodin.
Charles Grodin.
He's missing from this movie.
Spoiler alert: is wearing the money, right?
Yeah, just like this
guy, and it's just like you're wearing the money, aren't you?
It almost looks like the same prop.
It does, and it's and he's got the briefcase full of phone books, like in The Big Lebowski.
Yeah,
he's got a ringer.
You're right.
Yeah, it's hilarious how much it just gets borrowed from this movie. And so they're like shaking him down. It's like, take your clothes off. And then he's being tailed by these two dudes.
Yeah.
And we don't know who these two dudes are. By the way, did we talk about the credit card scene when they're talking about doing this?
Yeah.
Where they're busting the...
We skipped it. We skipped that, but there's some hustlers that come out, and I guess they're involved, or Masters is involved in, I guess, the credit card fabrication,
so
business.
That's Gary Cole. I didn't realize that until I looked at IMDb.
That's right. I did see his name on there, and I was like going, who was he in the movie? Okay, that's who he was. Okay. Yeah.
So that's Gary Cole, and that's the best line of the movie. The best line of the movie.
I met him once, actually. I met him once when he was
Cole?
doing that. Yeah, I met him once when he was doing that TV show, The Good Guys, in Dallas, because they were shooting at the bar I worked at, and he was going. I feel bad now in retrospect because I walked right up to him when he was going over his lines. Now I realize, but he was nice enough to talk to me.
He seems like a nice guy.
He wasn't mean though. Yeah, he's just like, oh, thank you. Yeah. Oh, yeah. What am I doing now? I'm doing Entourage now. I'm Ari's friend. Yeah.
Anybody who can do comedy and drama and horror, I mean, that's a great range. But it's the lines like, "Why are you running? Why are you chasing me?"
I know.
Yeah. That
because
line.
you're chasing me. It's just great. Love that. And then he just stops.
And yeah, that's when you have another clumsy fight. You know what I mean? That's one of the clumsy. I don't know. The guy before him on the bridge is even a clumsier fight. But it's just these weird foot chases and these weird fights. But what isn't a weird chase scene happens in just a moment.
Oh.
Okay, because there are a bunch of hitmen out here, like following them, as Joe said. And then what happens?
But they're not hitmen. That's the fucked up thing.
Yeah.
Like you see these guys trailing Mr. Ling, and then one of them gets startled by their car getting hit and shoots him.
Yeah.
And kills him.
Accidentally, yeah.
And, Cousin Ira's having a panic attack. Chance's like, oh, this is fucking great.
Oh,
it's just
now this car
bungee
chase,
jumping here on
Are
wheels.
we getting into this car chase where they like?
Yeah.
Oh my God, where they go like, I mean, they're getting shot at and then they go the wrong way down the freeway.
It's
this
fantastic.
freeway in LA. Oh my God, the stunts in this. I love the stunts in this movie all over, starting with the bridge and the jump, man, and the chases on foot and the car chases. My God, this is stunts galore.
It's fantastic, and obviously Friedkin is trying to outdo the French Connection, which had, as we mentioned, a very famous car chase.
He does here, I will say, honestly. He really outdoes the French Connection here. He outdoes himself.
It's tremendous, and this is from two dudes who just talked about Gone in 60 Seconds not too long ago, and that's a movie that is an entire. And this, I hate to say this is right up there. It's right next to that.
Isn't it nice, though, in this day and age? Like, Joyce and I tried to watch Ant-Man and the Wasp the other day, and after 10 minutes, we're like, this is a video game. I can't watch this shit. Isn't it nice to go back and watch movies where stunts were real?
Yeah. We were noticing that recently when we did Point Break last time on the podcast. We were talking about that same kind of thing.
Another great LA crime movie.
Yeah, exactly. Another LA crime film.
Some might say.
This could be a double feature with Point Break. I don't care what anybody says, actually. Yeah.
I am a Treasury agent.
But yeah, real stunts once again.
I am an FBI agent. Go back to the valley. Yeah. I don't really think I could see Cousin Ira on a surfboard, but Gary Busey could have easily have been in To Live and Die in LA.
Oh my God.
I mean, he was the bad guy in Lethal Weapon.
Yeah.
But this car chase scene, so before they go the wrong way on the freeway, they're cutting through like the produce section behind a farmer's market. It's just boxes and trucks everywhere. And it's like, fuck you, get out of the way. And that's tense. Because you're just like, what the, oh my God, this is suffocating. And then they're going the wrong way down. And then all these guys are showing up, more and more cars. There's a fucking dude with an Uzi. Why is this a video game? Why are all
so
of
many
these
people
guys
connected with this shit?
Yeah. Why can they not shake off a dozen cars? Well, why else would a dozen cars swarm around you? Because you just fucking killed a fucking FBI agent.
Yeah. This scene's crazy. I love it, man.
Obviously, the guy, they were tracking their partner. They killed their partner on accident.
Yeah.
And now it's just like, oh shit. But they don't know it.
Yeah.
It's great.
And then in this chase scene, they're going the wrong way down this LA freeway. Like they cut back over and then they're right doing the chase in the LA River when it's dry again.
Yeah.
This is before Terminator 2 even did it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Drink LA River. Like, you're in LA, you got to have someone.
Before Grease, well, after Grease, but Grease I wouldn't call it. That was just a little race with Grease compared to this.
Another great LA crime movie.
Grease, yes. Grease is the word. It's got you. It's got me. Grease was about a drug called Grease.
Grease 2 is the real crime.
Yeah, Grease.
Yeah, we need to see a really hard noir remake of Grease, and it can even be Travolta again, like Blowout,
like a high school Confidential type of Grease, right?
Oh, so but anyway, great chase in the LA River, and they shake them. They shake all these guys, and it's
just
claustrophobic.
classic.
It's fantastic. It's almost like it reminded me of Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid, where they just can't shake these dudes. Like, who are these guys?
Yeah. LaForce.
Yeah.
But it's tense. So if you haven't seen The French Connection, there's no appreciation for how this scene is just pushing the envelope. And all the reviews at the time, you go back and read these old reviews, we get it. William Friedkin just basically filmed a big car chase and put a movie around it so he could say he outdid himself. Like, the movie got a lot of shit when it came out, but everybody said the car chase scene is just poetry.
Yes.
And William Peterson got a lot of Steve McQueen comparisons for the car chase scene.
Yeah.
Because he's as cool as a cucumber. And there's a flashback to the base jumping scene during the car chase.
Yeah.
He has this Nirvana moment where he's like, I got this. This is me. This is what I do.
I thought that was
He
interesting
nails
that they threw that in there. I liked that kind of too, though, that he did that. But because it is like that moment. Like, I hear people that survive diving off a bridge, like in suicides, and who live through it, they always have this oh shit moment halfway down where they go, I made a mistake.
That's right.
But he was probably thinking like past that point, right after that point, where you're talking exactly, where there was this Nirvana feeling.
It's just like that. Yeah. That clarity through the adrenaline.
Yeah.
And like Joe says, he's like, I've got this. This is what I do. You know what I mean? I've read the script. I know where this is going.
Like, I'm not going to die here. I can tell I'm not going to die, or I can live through this.
And Cousin Ira is shitting the bed in the back seat. Although he gets a few good shots off so they can shake him.
He's having PTSD at the same time already.
And what better way to celebrate evading a dozen to 2 dozen federal officers shooting at you than to sexually assault your captive mistress? That scene, again, it's been about 5 years and I've grown quite a bit. Not that I've ever condoned such behavior.
Yeah.
But that scene now, I was even more like repelled by the character. Like, she's like punching him and screaming no.
Yeah.
And he's like chugging a flask of whiskey and grabbing her.
Yeah, he walks through the door with that flask. And he's just like, we got him, baby. We got him.
This is a game to him. And he's still high on the adrenaline. He's going to celebrate by, hooking up. And then he's
sexually assaulting his informant. But
she's pissed because it went to shit.
No, that's not why she's pissed, though, Anthony.
Yeah.
She's pissed because he's alive.
Oh. Well, I mean, we have that that subtext to the film, and let's just talk about it here because I didn't put the pieces together like that.
But she's angry because he's alive.
Yeah, but I mean, what she says is like they're going to know it's me. But you're right. So she set him up, presumably, right? with the
Right.
cops, with the FBI.
Right.
So she's a double informant. She's a double agent. So did she go to the FBI, or was she already working to bust?
So we don't know. That's one of the issues is we don't know if the information came from Grimes. We don't know if the information came from she overheard it and thought, oh, this guy is going to get shot fucking with the feds and I'm out for good. She doesn't know. All she figures is I'm setting this guy up to either get arrested or killed. There's no way he's making it out of the way. That's why she's whiny about the money, but she like accepts it. Like, all right, whatever, okay. And then he comes in and she's just terrified he's still alive and not in jail.
Yeah, you're right.
She's like, we're going to get in so much trouble.
Right.
But if she was trying to set him up, I mean, I see this. This did not occur to me at the time. This is the first time I've seen this. It was very surface level. I mean, I had a feeling that, you couldn't trust her, right? Maybe she ratted him out or something, but I guess.
But still, when he comes through the door, it looks like awkward the way he kind of jumps all over her, and then she's not ready to have sex with him, and he's ready to have sex, obviously. And he knocks the couch aside. Yeah,
like Joe says, if she was expecting him to be arrested or dead or something, then she's in shock. I mean, I see that reading. Let's put a pin in that and come back to it because we're almost to the end of the movie here. So and I love this scene. There's a briefing at the station, and
about the two assailants.
Yeah, Vukovich. I think it's a little game on how many different ways we can pronounce his name. Vukovich.
Yes. Vukovich and Chance are in the audience of the police. Secret Service people or whatever they are.
Yeah.
And then, they're all hearing this, and it makes Vukovich more paranoid, as we see in the next scene, because he's like, they know who we are, man.
Yeah, because they find out there's a briefing, and they find out that Ling was an undercover FBI agent, the guy that accidentally got killed who had the money.
How awkward. Yeah.
just a little
They
bit.
made an ass of him. They made an ass of this guy, made him strip down and all that stuff.
I felt so bad for him, too. I was like, oh, man. And you could tell
I
that
did too.
actor was so great because you're like, wait a minute, this guy isn't a hardened criminal. You know what I mean?
He's one of them, clearly. He's like...
He's out of his element, Donnie. Yeah. So anyway, turns out who did this whole thing. No IDs, but there were two white males in a beige late model Chevrolet. Of course, Vukovich is worried, right?
Unmarked car, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, half of LA saw them, but that's okay. That's all right. Chance says that they don't have an ID on them, so they're probably good.
All those drivers down the 105 or 101 or whatever it was saw them.
There's also a scene before this where Grimes meets with Vukovich and is like, I want out. I'm tired of dealing with Masters. He's a real handful. He's threatened me.
Yeah.
And he gives it a line that every criminal defense lawyer, it's one of the most authentic lines from a legal perspective, which is, he talks about this other case he's in trial where the guy, he's going to get him off because the warrant had the wrong color of house.
Yeah, exactly.
The warrant said brown and the house is beige. And Vukovich gives him a look and he's like, hey man, look, if I didn't take the case, somebody else would and do the same thing. There's nothing wrong with me getting paid to do my job. And it's like, that is every criminal defense lawyer's out when they talk about, how do you defend a pedophile? If I didn't do it, somebody else would. Anyway, I'm off my high horse.
Yeah, but the irony of the fact that that's how he would, if he could, if he had $50,000 to pay him, how he would get him out, because he is up shit creek. He's
that's the next visit.
Yeah.
Sorry. They leave the bar and he tells them, look, I'm going to help you pinch Masters. This is a little intel. And then when the shit hits the fan and Vukovich is like, we killed somebody, he goes back to Grimes and Grimes is like, I'm going to help you cut a deal for $50,000.
So clearly Grimes is out to save his own ass. And maybe there's other alternate theories going on here, subtext, but he's done with Masters. He's sick of this. He's got this guy here. He's got this federal agent who's involved in this investigation. I think he sees himself an opportunity for himself, whichever way you read this. But clearly, Vukovich at this point is still looking for a way out. He got in, he dipped his toe in the pool, and after that chase sequence, he's ready to go out. But then yet, he's still somehow conflicted. When given the opportunity, when given this safety line, he's like, no, I'm not going to rat out my partner. I mean, come the fuck on here, man. What would
after a chase sequence, that happened to me one time, where after I had a whole chase sequence, it changed my life. Don't make fun of somebody after they went through a chase sequence. And then, is all I'm saying.
But you're like, but I'm still not going to rat out my fellow Domino's delivery driver.
Look, it's a hard decision because he's just like, do I do this? Do I do that? And it's not a hard decision. He doesn't have the $50,000.
No, but the thing is Grimes told him exactly what to do. Turn yourself in. Tell them this and that. He got enough free legal advice.
But it's no. Grimes tells him, I can do this behind the scenes. I can't be involved for obvious reasons. Yeah. I can pull these strings, but it will cost you $50,000, the exact amount. Grimes knows the amount is $50,000, which is why I think Grimes gave Ruth the information to fuck over Chance.
That makes sense. Wow, I hadn't thought about that. So now it's becoming more compelling, Joe. I'm seeing your point of view here. Yeah.
So Masters is in the peripheral to the best of our knowledge, but Grimes is basically rolling out the red carpet to these two schmucks playing the scenes. Again, the problem is I don't think the film is articulate in its editing to explain this, which is why we're talking about it so choppy, because really it's playing out in a very complex way while all we're focused on is one thing, but there's many moving parts. So we've got Grimes feeding this bullshit to Cousin Ira, and it's really, but you need the $50,000. And Cousin Ira can't get that $50,000. There's no way.
Yeah, exactly.
He's toast.
Y'all keep calling him Cousin Ira.
I love it. That's compelling. I think we're almost here at the end of the movie, and I think that's going to come into play toward the end. So Chance and Vukovich. How do you say it?
Vukovich. John Vukovich.
You watch your mouth. This is a family podcast. So Vukovich go to the gym.
Tell Tony that Vukovich and the Cruisers are here, Anthony.
So Vukovich and Chance go to the gym to make the trade-off. They have the $50,000, which they stole from the FBI agent. And so they're in the of course, where all trade-offs happen, in the locker room at a gym in a public space. So
that's where I do mine.
What happens here, Joe? What happens here? They bring in this briefcase, presumably with some money, and then what happens?
Well, they go to the gym after hours, and we forgot about John Turturro.
Yeah,
and it's never really clearly explained. All we know is that Rick Chance always ties up his loose ends. He goes back in a very spectacularly shot scene. He goes back into the apartment complex, finds Turturro, says, fuck you for fucking me over, and brings him back in and says, you're going to help me bag Masters. But we don't really know where that goes.
Oh, this scene, because where he breaks in through the door and silences his girlfriend. And
he's got a gun in his hand and a finger on her lips.
Yeah. What a great shot, too, because he's got, you see her in the kitchen with him, and then Turturro coming down the hallway. It's like Robbie Miller, the director of photography, in this scene at his best, and it looks all natural lighting.
And, even the scene where Turturro is going to get shivved before he gets him out of there. I mean, everything is so well shot in this movie. It's just not well edited. That is the only problem, I think, with this movie.
Yeah, I agree.
But I love it. It's a great film.
I think you're right, about the editing.
He's brought Turturro back in, and we don't know why, or what happens there, other than he's closed that loose end. And before they go to the gym, Masters, by the way, who's we've forgotten two things. One of Masters' old colleagues is a disabled art critic who said, I visited one of his old art galleries. And so Vukovich has inside knowledge of this undisclosed art location, which comes into play at the end of the movie. Yeah. And then they decide they're going to go and do this deal. And Masters has the bag of money, but he's got this weird sex tape fascination. And he tells his girlfriend, Bianca, I've got a present for you. And there is Daphne from Frasier in lingerie watching sex tapes It's very, very sordid, very 80s.
Yeah.
You know that there's a little candy jar full of cocaine somewhere, although the drug use in this movie is rather limited, and I will give it credit for that. There's no effort to glorify or bring drugs into this movie whatsoever.
It's just presumed. Drug use is in the air. You know what I mean?
That's the odd thing, like, I think missing. But yeah, other than that, you see a lot of sex. Yeah, it's like.
But it's I mean, you've got strippers, criminals. And we also glossed over that, you know, to prove how ruthless Master is about his money. When the hit on Turturro in prison goes wrong, he goes back to the dudes to get his money back.
Oh yeah,
he skipped over that. Yeah. He does not fuck around. He is like, "You're going to give me my money back. You fucked it up."
Yeah,
and proceeds to like stuff a gun down the guy's throat until he gets his money. We missed a couple of parts, but let's not gloss over that Defoe in this film is ruthless.
Yeah,
he wants. No, there will be no mistake that he is all business and fuck you. I will get to you however way I can. And many scenes where he's like almost like a spider hanging around in the background of people's homes and offices, ready to get to you.
He's fearless. He's not physically imposing, but he's just And this is like, you're right, one of his first film performances on this level. Yeah.
So they go to the gym to make the exchange, and Jack is patting down Cousin Ira and he's about to pat down. Chance, and he says, "Fuck you, no one touches me." And Masters says, "Nah, he's fine." Okay. So either Masters knows that he's coming there to kill him because he's got Grimes helping him fuck over these two guys, and he kind of knows there's a trap, or you've got a really bad plot hole.
A plot hole or a plot mine?
That's plot mines cause plot holes. Yeah, but you're right about that.
I got to go with the first explanation. I got to think that, Masters knows exactly what's happening here. He knows these guys are cops by now. He knows what's happening.
I think you're right. I think the whole thing with the 50,000, I think going back to then even, I think he's playing with them. Like you're talking about the spider, I get it. I get the metaphor. And I think you're right because I got the feeling that he was, what does he say? He gets the money. They give him that 30,000, and then he's just kind of like,
"You're beautiful."
Yeah, you're beautiful.
That's the line.
The line from the movie.
Oh yeah, is it okay? You're beautiful.
You're beautiful. That he doesn't say thank. I mean, maybe that's telling, Joe. Maybe that's one more bean on the scale of he knew about it. I think he's enjoying the game. Without reading of the movie, he's watching this all play out. But if that's the case, at this scene. When this happens here, he's got his henchmen there, right? They have a gun already in the locker. How does the scene play out? How does the whole money transfer scene play out, Joe?
So what you've got is a briefcase with the real cash, the payola for the work. You've got a duffel bag, and they show him the cash, and Chance approves of the counterfeit. Boom, there's a Dropbox with two guns hiding in it, and there's a bust.
Yeah.
And Masters has his, back to the wall. You think this bust is going to happen. This is a done deal. Vukovic has a gun to John, and then it just goes south because John has his shotgun hidden, punches Cousin Ira, who's just totally fucking useless.
Yeah.
And when Chance shoots him, he still has enough time to blow Chance's brains out all over the locker in one of the biggest what the fuck? Oh my God. Again, I'm watching this with my wife and she's like, what the fuck?
Yet another. The bullet shots to the head in this movie. I want to research more to see how they did it. Because
his brain's everywhere. His head's a canoe.
It looks very practical. I can tell it's a very practical effect. Like on French Connection, I could tell that they use the hose effect where you blow the fake blood kind of out of a hose kind of thing in the actor's face. But this, I was wondering, what kind of thing to make it extra gory? What did they do, I wonder?
Oh, it's fantastic. And it's a shocker because Chance just gets killed. You think certainly... You don't expect... This is one of, I wouldn't say a criticism, but there's some awkward sort of scenes and fights and even gunfights in this movie. It all works. It's fine. But this is a very odd space to orchestrate this sort of exchange. Normally, I guess I'm used to action movies where there's a lot more space that people have to walk around and explain a plan or fight and throw things around. And here this happens in a locker room. It's very small. So the
Yeah,
close
so
quarters,
tight, yeah.
and it's very weird because of that. The actors kind of don't know where to be in this space, and it comes off sort of awkward. So whenever Chance gets killed, you're just like, holy shit! Like it almost looks like an accident. I mean, clearly it's not, but I don't know. It's a very interesting claustrophobic scene that has just a big repercussion. But Vukovich, if you're saying he sort of has knowledge of this, then why did he take his eyes off the henchman? Are you saying that he wanted? Was this all set up to have Chance die? Is that what I'm hearing?
No, I don't think he's in on it. I think his eye is off his game, his A game. He doesn't want Masters to get killed. I think he's worried. He's keeping an eye to make sure that, like, look, I've got my gun on Jack here. All right, I've got this guy. Then, as I recall it, Chance gets his gun. And you're like, oh, man, I hope he doesn't execute this guy. I want justice. I don't want murder.
Yeah.
And this is why I think he was going to kill Masters. He puts the poker chip in his mouth. Remember this, you son of a bitch? You killed my partner.
Yeah.
And that's when that's when the distraction happens, the poker chip. And I think that's the lapse that causes this domino effect of Jack going for his shotgun and Chance protecting Djokovic from getting killed and getting killed in that process. So I think that's the chain of events. Again, this is me. I didn't listen to director's commentary because I think it ruins my interpretation of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But here, Djokovic is thinking, we have our guy. I don't want Chance to go the next step with Masters.
Yeah.
And he takes his eye off of Jack, and that's when it all goes to shit. Because he knows that Chance just wants to kill Masters.
It's sloppy police work to begin with, but yeah, if it's part of a scheme.
That's it.
But here's the problem. Okay, if we can levy a criticism here to your point, Joe, it's not edited well enough. Maybe I would posit not shot well enough. But if it's not edited well enough shot on this gun being pulled, shot on Chance pulling his gun. You got to give the audience all this information instead of like wide shot. All this happens at once.
I think it's a low budget movie. It's a $6 million budget. And they put all the stops on the soundtrack. They put all the stops on great stage actors. They checked all these boxes. I just think the editing is what hurts this movie and stopped it from being this like raw, true classic. It doesn't get any love. I don't know why, other than to say, yeah, it's a little confusing because of the editing.
Yeah, I will agree that it is Cousin Ira's story, though.
Yeah.
Even at this point, we know because, hey, well, Chance dies, so now the movie's still going on. Wait a minute.
Well, who's the good guy and who's the bad guy in this movie? You've got a serial monogamous counterfeiter who's a little ruthless and murders people that get in his way.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got this totally inherently corrupt but dedicated and loyal Secret Service agent who is breaking the law without any like remorse. And it's like, well, these are, and not to mention I'm also raping my informant.
Yeah.
These are both terrible fucking people that are just fighting with each other. And the voice of reason throughout the whole movie is just teetering on the edge the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
He's just on the razor's edge. And eventually he pulls it together and realizes, I know where Masters ran to.
Yeah.
I know where he is.
Yeah. I found out where the studio was. So he goes to the studio, and what does he find?
It's on fire. It's burning, which is what Masters does every time he's got a great work of art. He burns it all. And he's like, and Defoe knows he's coming.
Yeah.
Masters is sitting there like a little kid, upset his toys are not, like everything's gone to shit. He's pouty. And he's like, why didn't you take the deal from Grimes?
Oh my God.
And Djokovic is like,
I was going to say on this scene with Vukovich when he's walking through the warehouse and it's all on fire. I thought that was kind of interesting because it's almost like he's walking through hell, kind of the way Friedkin did it.
Oh, it was fantastic. Yeah, everything went to hell is what happens. Is like,
it's so beautifully shot.
Yeah. And because we'd already set it up that like Master burns everything, paintings be it, or counterfeit money that didn't come out right, he burns everything, This was like a perfect fitting ending.
It's like this whole thing was a work of art in a way. And I'm kind of seeing Joe's Kaiser Soze Usual Suspects reading of this movie, which I missed out. I'm going to have to watch this movie again.
But I agree with you totally. The biggest question on my mind was like, who the fuck is good and bad here? Everything is gray. It's so gray. It's deep gray. It's like a Peckinpah movie.
Yeah, everyone's icky. Everyone's like, there isn't even an anti-hero, really. So I guess Cousin Ira is the closest thing we can identify with as maybe a hero, if he isn't behind the scenes to some degree. Yeah, so it's a beautiful, memorable scene. Defoe steals it, and they're sitting in this burning studio with all the printing machines around them on fire. Metaphorically, literally, everything's burning down around them. And then we get another awkward fight sequence. And then what happens? How do we climax the movie? The culmination of all this, what happens, Joe?
Well, he tells Masters, I got you. It's the Grimes thing has kind of thrown him off. Mm-hmm. He's just stunned by that news, but he's like, I'm going to try and do the right thing here. But Masters gets the drop on him. Yeah. He gets whacked in the head with a piece of wood. And Masters is like, all right, I'm going to just kill another federal agent. Yeah. That's, it's go to IHOP afterwards. This is just what I do for a living.
Grand Slam breakfast. Sorry.
Right. And he's throwing the paper on him to set him on fire. And again, the head trauma, apparently not what it might be. He gets his act together and fires a couple of rounds at Masters, kills him, and Masters sets himself on fire. And Cousin Ira unloads the gun on Masters, and it's like, well, the transition is completed. You got the guy, and now you're the hero, right? It's your story.
End of movie. Roll credits. Yes, no,
not
maybe,
quite yet.
No, not quite yet.
Not quite.
False ending.
Because again, that's where the movie could have ended, but Clue style. But this is how it really ends, right? So
you said Clue. That came out the same year or around the same time.
It is. All this movie was missing was Tim Curry.
We had to go to different theaters to see the ending. What if To Live and Die in L.A. was like, which To Live and Die L.A. ending you want to see? It depends on what theater you see it at.
Exactly. So then we see crimes. Anyway, Freudian slip. Then we see Grimes watching Master's sex tape as they're cleaning out his house or his apartment there. Yeah. And then he's talking to his girlfriend. And Joe, explain to me what happens here, because even this is a false ending.
I felt awkward, by the way, because it was Dean Stockwell.
Yeah.
So I guess it's just playing. I don't think he's like putting it on to get his kicks. He walks in.
No, I'm just making a
joke. Well, no, but I mean, but it could be interpreted as, well, why is he's watching this like sex tape with this dead dude and his girlfriend, and then she walks in and turns it off and starts taking the tapes. And he's like, why did you put up with all of this crap? You're a smart girl. And she goes, why did you put up with it? And he goes, well, I was in a business arrangement. And she goes, ta-ta. And it's like, oh, okay. Yeah. Well, she never really liked the guy. She was just working an angle. And then she gets into his Ferrari.
With?
Daphne from Frasier. And you're like, holy shit.
Yeah, they leave.
It wasn't
in this nice
she wasn't
menage a trois.
Yeah.
Was Daphne from Frasier, is she the movie's Kaiser Soze? Is it her idea? Is all of this? No, now you got me.
I think it's Waxman. Damn it, that's what I'll say. It was Waxman the whole time. And he would have got away with it if it weren't for you stinking kids.
What would have been interesting? What would have been interesting is if the Ferrari pulled up to get Ruth at the end and had to leave her behind because she wasn't alone. Like the three of them were in on it together. Yeah. But that
would have been interesting. Yeah.
But what we find out is Bianca and Serena, Daphne from Frasier, they're the couple. They're the ones that are the item. Yeah. And that they were just accommodating the weirdo. And so they drive off into the sunset. Oh, and Grimes's agenda really isn't to like make small chat and reminisce. He's looking for some art that might be worth some money now. These are maybe a couple of paintings I could lift off you. They might be worth something. And she's like, he burned it all. Fuck off.
Yeah.
And he's like, worth a try. Because the guy,
Well, probably wants to get paid. Too bad.
He's not doing this pro bono. He's on retainer.
He's the only person who hasn't pro bono in this whole movie, I think. He's backed up. So anyway, but then you think the movie's over there, right? Cue the music. So roll credits, right? Movie over.
Yeah. Wow.
Not quite yet.
Oh, no, that's right. No, we forgot. Vukovich, right? Vukovich lives.
But this is how it really ends.
Right. Ruth is packing up. Ruth is off the hook. Ruth is like, I've got this psycho federal agent out of my life.
Yeah.
I can move on. I'm packing up. And Cousin Ira shows up and is like,
he's like,
fuck you, you're working for me now.
Okay.
And he's got the sunglasses and the
he's
jeans.
got the same aviator shades, exactly, right?
Right. And she looks out the window and she's like, oh, well. And who drives up?
Yeah.
This mirage of Chance in his shitty truck.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I was almost ready to get away from here. Now, it would have been interesting if the black Ferrari pulled up.
But she looks at him and she's reminded of Chance. Like, we get a flashback and she's like, you remind me of all the things that were hot about Chance. And you know what? I think I trust you for that.
I don't see Djokovic going the full Monty with her, so to speak.
Well, I don't know at this point. Okay,
but he does tell her, you knew he was an FBI agent. You set up Chance.
Yeah.
He calls her out on it. She's like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like bullshit. She was ready to get out of that whole situation. She finally gets her out. And he's like, you're not going anywhere. Now you work for me.
You work for me. You're working for me now.
So, okay.
Real credits, baby.
That is the jump up in the air, freeze frame, high five of this movie. And a very, very 80s ending. To me, that undercuts everything that happened in the past 2 hours. That line alone, like, you're working for me. What exactly is he doing now? Oh, is she an informant?
Does this mean we're going to get a sequel?
Yeah, is she an informant now? Or are they like dirty, rotten scoundrels? Are they going to be in Rio the next movie? Like, what is happening?
No, he's a hero. His partner was killed. He brought down this counterfeiting syndicate. I would venture to guess, and I've not read the book or the source material or anything, I would venture to guess he's got Grimes by the short and curlies now because he's got the upper hand. And he's got this informant. It's like, where are you going to go?
Yeah.
He's gotten the taste of what happens when the rat gets to the end of the maze and gets the cheese.
Yeah.
That rat has gotten the taste of beating that maze and is like, I can do this. I got this now.
Of course, he's lived and died in LA a lot now.
Yeah, he certainly has.
Intended.
No, I've completely misread this movie. I thought that he had basically whatever disease that Chance had, he has now assumed. He is now
where he's not afraid to die.
Yeah, he's not afraid to die. He's gotten taste of the adrenaline. He's become Chance, and that's why we get
completely fearless, not afraid to die.
Exactly. You know? And so now he has a dead partner to avenge.
No fear in him. Nothing that stops him from doing anything stupid.
Yeah, and the cycle continues. And I sort of read this as like the existentially sort of the lengths that obsession and compulsion will drive you over that line. And now Joe has presented me with a different reading of this movie, which I need to watch it again to sort of absorb. But I think we can agree that there are multiple interpretations to this. And the story that it wants to tell, I'm clearly not smart enough to get that, but they could have helped me with being a little more deliberate with the editing at the end.
It's freaking Friedkin here, Anthony.
Hey, man, they spend half this movie. Okay, criticisms and all this other stuff. So that's the end of the movie, right? But to me, it's a tale of two movies, right? You've got the first half, which is this kinky noir atmospheric movie that takes its damn time setting up the tale of two cops here.
Yeah.
And then the second half, which is actually executing that, which is sort of an actioner and more of a thriller. And I like the second half better, but I'm not sure of what it sets up in the beginning. It sort of completes at the end, especially with the triple ending there. I'm not sure what I just watched a little bit. It's like I just saw Magnolia. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think that's the weakness in this movie is in the editing. And most cop stories, most crime stories, it's a cat and a mouse game. That's the cliche. But what this movie did was show you that it's actually with a good bad guy, it's not a cat, it's a cat and a cat game.
Yeah.
I mean, look at like every movie that came after this. Die Hard, Lethal Weapon, Heat.
Yeah.
These are all cat and cat games, not cat and mouse games.
Yeah. This is kind of like The Departed.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same thing. Departed was kind of like everybody is a rat.
Right.
You know, literally they showed you rats at the end even.
And The Departed, other than being a horribly miscast film is a great example of, geez, there's just no good people in this situation. And this movie is up and down and every which way you look at it. There's just no one to feel. It's Friedkin, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh wow, there's no lesson learned from this other than the world is a terrible place.
But I can't imagine this movie being easy to edit. I bet there was footage coming in left and right to choose from.
Well, I think Friedkin is a very deliberate director.
Yeah. He likes to put actors in dangerous situations.
Yeah.
A little bit, or he liked to a little bit. Not so much to where he would, but just put him on edge. Yeah.
I mean, look, the Exorcist.
He would fire off a gun on the set when he was shooting that.
Yeah, The Exorcist is an exceptional horror film because of how well it is edited.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I agree. It's all in the editing at the end of the day. And I agree with you, man, totally. And this movie is like oddly, it does have an odd editing to it. And it's kind of maybe because they're trying to pack it into a solid pace.
Yeah. They're trying to tell a lot of story here.
Yeah. And it's not in a 3-hour time frame here that he's working in. It's more like a 90-minute time frame.
Yeah, it's not a very long movie. But like his other movies that he did after this, like Killer Joe, which I've only seen once, or the Rules of Engagement. But if you clean up the storytelling, like what the hell happens to Turturro's character?
Yeah, big hole there.
We show about how the Counterfit is part of this nefarious system in LA, but we don't know why we should really care about it other than this guy wants to bag. I mean, it's just it's the editing is the weakness of an otherwise very well acted, very well shot movie that is the source of a lot of other movies' tropes.
Yeah, all these actors shine, even as young as they are, still shine in and live To Live and Die in LA.
Yeah, a lot of them theater actors, like even Defoe was fairly fresh, just fantastic theater actors. And I heard from an interview with Friedkin is he let a lot of the actors improvise a bit. Of course, they knew where the scene was going and things, but I think he was really an actor's director and letting them do what they're doing. But maybe that speaks to a little bit of the movie that came out of this. It wasn't that tight. So we got interpretations, we got performances that maybe didn't telegraph as well as they could have some of this. And then, like Joe said, maybe the editing.
I don't think movies should be confusing for the sake of being confusing.
Yeah.
Like The Usual Suspects, I think it's a very well acted movie. I think it's a fun movie to watch. But really, when you watch it for like the third time, you're like, this is kind of stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This doesn't make any sense. Why would Chaz Palminteri be there to bust Gabriel Byrne at the beginning and then have these guys in the room together and not think, okay, I want to tail on Keaton because something's up?
Yeah.
I mean, you're either assuming that really great cops are fucking morons, which they're not, or you're just going to have to sit back and say, okay, well, we just accept that nothing is foolproof and nothing's ever going to be as well written as Heat.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, fuck, the great, my top 5 LA crime movies, I'm going to tell you right now. Number 1 is Heat. Number 2 is Pulp Fiction, exceptionally written. This is my third, To Live and Die in LA, just because I love how it just is unrepentant. Like, there's nothing glamorous.
Yeah.
And this is ahead of the curve. 4 is Chinatown. Chinatown, I'm just so over Polanski and his weird, creepy shit. But Chinatown is such a great historic look at what LA was. And then 5 is Point Break.
Really?
We just did Point Break on the last podcast again.
Yeah, that is a great LA. I mean, that just gives you LA is such a big city.
Yeah.
But that was what the screenwriter, that was what inspired them when I looked it up. They had some newspaper headline that said, LA has the most bank robberies right now or something like that.
Yeah, you're right. It is. Joe, you can turn anything into a crime thriller, I think. Joe could talk about the Cat in the Hat and over here, and it's like, yeah, see, there's this cat, right? Which you don't see is behind the scenes.
There's this dead body in the hat.
He's working with the Who's from Whoville.
I mean, look, Thing 1 and Thing 2 are the biggest fucking crooks of that book. Like, we don't know what Thing 1 and Thing 2 are up to. We don't know what kind of shady shit's going on. You got a B&E that just goes south from the very beginning. But
yeah, all right. So, final thoughts, Joe. You picked this movie, and I just want to say, yeah, thank you. This is a fantastic, interesting film, and I've never seen it, and I think it definitely bears watching and discussion.
I agree. It was nice to revisit it and go find this movie.
It's just a fun. I mean, you watch this movie. Okay, yeah, we've harped over all of the the weaknesses, but it's so well acted, and I still I mean, why William Peterson didn't become this mega star after doing this in Manhunter, other than he just said, fuck you, I don't want to. Kind of like Jason Patrick. It's like, all right, man, good for you. I respect the fuck out of anybody who says, I'm just going to do this and I'm going to do what I want to do. Now, you do a movie like Young Guns 2 and Fear and the Skulls, and you're like, okay. I don't understand.
He was always bigger in my mind, of course, but I guess not the rest of the world. Just like Fred Ward, I always thought he was bigger in my mind.
He didn't even have an agent, he said, when he got this film. So maybe sometimes actors just make poor choices career-wise. You never know what something's going to turn into reading the script.
I guess it's just, if Martin Scorsese calls you and says, come do Goodfellas, I think your first answer is, fuck all right, whatever you want to do, Martin Scorsese. But that's another discussion. Manhunter, if you watch this in Manhunter back to back and you still have this sunny will to live, good man, those are some fucking dark movies he did back to back. And maybe that's why he's just like, I needed to take a break. But it's just like his version of Will Graham, it made the remake of Red Dragon with Ed Norton. I'm like, this is so awful. Mm-hmm.
I agree. I'll take William Peterson's Will Graham over Ed Norton on that one.
Or Hugh Dancy's. Anyway, my takeaway is one, editing aside, what a fantastic time capsule that every crime movie, especially an LA crime movie, took from this one.
Yeah.
Fuck this whole, they stole from Michael Mann bullshit. That's bullshit. Yeah. Second, William fucking Friedkin nails it. Great director.
What kind of rating do you give this, Joe, out of 10 or...
I give this one, for me, the 10 is The Godfather, 1 is Species 2, which you and I saw in the theater. I give this a 7.
Yeah.
7.5. But I want to end with, if you go on YouTube, there's an interview with William Friedkin talking about what actors think. And they're like, well, Al Pacino said this about you. And Friedkin's like, fuck Al Pacino. I don't give a fuck what Al Pacino thinks about anything. What a horribly overrated fucking actor. Now, Tommy Lee Jones, I care what Tommy Lee Jones thinks about what I have to do. That is an intelligent actor. But Pacino, fuck that guy. And I'm like, damn. Dude, I God bless, rest in peace, man. Good for you. You.
At least he never had to wait on tables on Tommy Lee Jones.
Have you?
No, I heard from friends of mine that lived in San Saba, where Tommy Lee Jones lives in Texas, would always say that, like, if you go to the local restaurant, Tommy Lee Jones is eating there, the waiters and waitresses draw straws on who's going to wait on him because nobody wants to wait on his bitchy ass.
That's funny. He would go to J. Alexander's where my roommate was bartending.
Yeah.
And as long as you left him alone and didn't do that Hollywood shit with him, he tipped well and he was pleasant. But I will tell you, my interaction with Tommy Lee Jones, I was at the Liberty Bar restaurant in San Antonio, which back then, years ago, was like this old, dilapidated, historic house with a few tables. And when you waited around, it was kind of like ass to elbows when it was busy. And I was looking at the menu for dinner, and somebody was looking over my shoulder. And I don't like people looking over my shoulder. I think it's rude. And I thought that when I was 20, an old soul or just a curmudgeon then. And I just look at the person looking over my shoulder and say, would you like to see the menu while you're waiting? And it was Tommy Lee Jones.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And he's like, I'm sorry, that was rude. You're right. And I'm like, no, you can look at it. It's okay. He goes, no, you're absolutely right. I'll wait for my table. I'm sorry. I just was curious.
No, Tommy Lee Jones, you were being rude. Sir, how dare you look over my shoulder? God damn.
Asshole.
So he was just a real gentleman about it. He was such a gentleman about being called out for being rude. And I turned back to him there like, you just bitched out Tommy Lee Jones for a faux pas.
No. That's cool that you had that interaction with him. That's better.
Well, like we talked about Bill Murray, a complex character last time. So
yeah, that's true. What kind of rating do you give To Live and Die in LA, Anthony, out of 10?
Joe has changed my perspective on this movie, but I don't change my rating. For me, just like Joe, just independently, same. I was walking into this, it's a 7 for seeing a different film. I really saw this about a film about addiction. This addiction to adrenaline and sort of more the themes of how we convince ourselves who we are. You know, are we the hero in our story, avenging our partner? Regardless, we're going to see this through. And I sort of saw that. I wasn't, I guess, in the right mind frame to really deconstruct a very complex crime noir movie. But the same flaws, I think, for me exist. We talked a lot about what's bad about this movie, but like Joe said, that chase scene's fantastic. The characters are well drawn, I should say. I don't know necessarily about well written if their motivations are always there, but they're well acted. The script tells a coherent story, but I don't know if it tells the story it meant to tell or if I just didn't pick up on that. But yes, the editing didn't make it completely clear if that is the case. Now, you can read that in, like a lot of what Joe was saying, you can read that into the movie, but I think you have to watch it multiple times, or if you're not bright like me. But I shouldn't have to walk that far to really put the pieces together. But I see the movie that Joe was talking about. It's a different movie, but I still think that movie suffers from some of the same shortfalls, but still has all the same benefits. So yeah, 7 out of 10. Highly recommend this movie. Even though we've talked it to death, I think anyone can still watch it and have a great experience, because I think it's definitely a movie you can discuss and think about and revisit for sure. And so that's pretty amazing. I might even give it an 8 for that. Just the fact that I think it's a rewatchable movie, just to kind of get a different impression of it maybe the second time. Jordan, what do you think?
Funny you say that. I have it written down. I give this 8,000 out of 10,000 in counterfeit bills because of the entertainment value. I agree with Joe totally on the editing. It's a mess. I agree with you, Anthony, as far as what things don't work and how there's things that are unexplained even. But on the entertainment value, because the stunts, that's why I give it an 8 out of 10. Because it is like, it's on the level of like big spectacular stunt sequences. I mean, because that bridge sequence itself still gets to me. The chase scene I was watching again where they're just going the wrong way. That just really got to me this time around. I was like, what the fuck? It was a ride. Movie is a ride of a movie as far as cops and robbers go. I mean, you don't know who the good guy and bad guy is. Yeah, you don't know. I can't tell who the fucking bad guy and good guy is in the same sense of a Western or a Sam Peckinpah movie.
Yeah, it takes a line of cocaine about at the hour mark, but it sticks with you. I feel like, you know what I feel like? And I give it, 8 out of 10, 7 out of 10. Strip clubs.
This movie is like a line of cocaine, I will say.
It makes you feel like you did one because, topless bars at 11 a.m. I feel like I've been up all night.
It's an 8 out of 10 cocaine high.
I feel like I stumbled out of a strip club I've been at all night in the daylight. You know what I mean? It's just sticks with you, and it just makes you feel a little dirty at the end of it.
Well, I had to wake up with my kid the next day, and I was watching it, and I couldn't stop. I wasn't even tired yet. I was like watching this going, Anyway.
It is so well cast, and the story is there, but you talk about LA, let's just stick with the sub genre, LA crime movies. Heat is a 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
Okay?
It's a very well done movie.
Yeah, this is not Heat. It's 10 years later, but this is not Heat. Thief, which is 5 years before this.
Another Michael Mann movie. Yeah, great. Really well done.
Yeah, 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
This is not Thief. This is not Heat. You put it there. I love the casting. I love the soundtrack. I love how gut-wrenching and powerful and brave this movie is. And I would probably watch this before Thief.
Yeah.
But definitely I would pick Heat in a battle any day of the week because Heat is a masterpiece.
Oh, yeah. No argument there.
Thief is just well crafted, but slower. But I would pick this one over Thief if I had to pick to watch one. So when you draw the comparisons of what your baselines are, and Anthony, if you're watching it for the first time and you're like, what the fuck is happening here? I just wanted to, I went to, 2 seconds. I took my eyes away for 2 seconds. That's not on you. It's just the movie.
Yeah, I feel a lot better after hearing that. But I mean, that's the thing is I do have to watch it again.
But like I said, on the spectacle level, that's why I
Yeah,
give it that
just-
8 out of 10 mainly.
You can enjoy this on multiple levels.
Yeah. You want to talk about for real again, not CG. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know who edited this.
Well, let's
M.
see.
Scott Smith, I don't know who that is. I don't see any other credits. But I don't know if that's maybe a nom de editing.
Nom de plume. Like an Alan Smithy.
Scott Smith is also known for Ladder 49. Okay. I never saw that. The Crow. He edited The Crow.
Oh, okay.
The Mobsters, the great Christian Slater is an Italian guy movie. Gross Anatomy with Matthew Modine. Some Kind of Wonderful. This was his second movie after Cruising. So Cruising was a piece of shit.
So worked with Friedkin before, brought him back.
Right. And he didn't do anything between 1980 and 85. So then he gets into the game of editing like Johnny Be Good and great. Then he gets into these teen movies. He's not somebody the Coen brothers are going to run to.
Yeah, maybe Friedkin, older director, was just, hey, I've got a young, nubile, versatile cast here. Let me get this editor. Worked with him, maybe his dad before. Maybe he can throw this together. I don't know.
He's got a lot of transportation department credits.
Hey, don't we all?
Every editor in Hollywood was busy at that time, okay? I'm speaking for Friedkin now.
But anyway, yeah, a great film. Everyone go check it out. Joe, thank you for joining us again. Your triumphant return to the podcast, challenging us.
Oh, it's a pleasure, both you guys.
Yes,
Great.
welcome back.
Thank you.
Anyways, yeah, everyone, we hope you've enjoyed this deep exploration into this particular film. Thank you all for listening, and if you like this, listen to some of our other episodes. Hey, check out Scrooged, in which Joe got his feet wet on the podcasting game there. But anyways, yeah, so like, subscribe, do all that, hit the good buttons if you wouldn't mind, and again, we appreciate every single one of you listening to us. All right, yeah, thanks again, Joe and Jordan. This has been...
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Jordan.
Well, thank you, Joe. But Anthony, you don't have the nuts to go on with me on this. I'm just letting you know you can't be my partner, okay? I'm out of here, Anthony. Okay? All right. All right. Oh, no, I'm just kidding. Sorry. The robots took my podcast, man.
All trailers, clips, music, or any other copyrighted material are used sparingly, edited from their original forms, and used for the purposes of criticism, discussion, commentary, and education about these fine films.